What are we talking about?
I don't know. Balls, cum, shit, all of the above.
I really hope you still have this humor when you're 40, because that would make it like twice as funny.
Oh, dude. If I lose my sense of humor at any point in my life, I may as well just die, you know?
I hope that someday when you're 40 and rich, you're in a business suit and you're still calling shit balls, cum, fart, shit.
If I'm not, I'm going to be very disappointed at myself.
You have a suit and like the like office, like they have that like name tag and it's like a triangular prism and it's got like the name in gold. It's gonna say balls. It's
Yeah,
like in
yeah,
the center of like a
yeah.
mahogany desk.
Yeah.
We did some trolling. I think on my deathbed, I'm gonna regret not trolling enough. People say the opposite. I'm gonna be about to die, and I'm gonna regret not fucking around more. I think it's not real, bro.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Yeah, nah, that's 100% it, eh? Sometimes you just
I
gotta do
like
a bit
said
of
that to
trolling.
somebody. I said that to somebody, and they were like, "No, man, you're gonna wish you were more serious." And I'm like, "I don't
Fuck
know. I don't
off,
know, bro."
bro. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, that's like
I
it's like this some
every
Disney
single
movie
time I
shit.
get into an issue in life, it's because I'm taking myself too seriously. Like that's
Yeah,
always it. Is like, damn, bro, what's the fucking meaning of all of this? Like, what am I doing here? Like, what the fuck is going on? You know, blah blah blah. And it's just shut up, balls. Just
yeah.
like what? It's I don't know, man. I don't know.
That's like the biggest schism between uh like Buddhist thought and like Christian thought. So like Christian thought is like your suffering is for a reason, and like Buddhist thought is not exactly this, but I've heard it from some like high level 99 monks. They're like existence is not really with a like all of existence is purportedly being done by Maya, who's like the god of like visions and like fucking with you. So like all of existence is fucking with you is like the what they're trying to say. Like it's just kind of something like I remember I heard this like Alan Watts quote that like the entire universe exploding is like a firework. It's a party. It's a celebration, right? And it's like what do people do when they're left alone? They dance, they sing, or like that's kind of I can't reconcile that with like abject poverty and suffering, but like I get with both of these ways of thinking. I kind of get out of the boat like halfway across the river. I'm like I don't really think this like applies. Like I don't think our entire lives are just sacrificing for God. Like that doesn't really add up to me either. Um, but like, you know, and then also, yeah,
I wish I could rip like the fattest fucking fart after like you say like a long monologue of like some really beautiful philosophy stuff, and then I just like rip a fat one. But I don't have the gas power nor the mic power to be able to pick that up because this is just too good, you know.
you need a smell mic so that like when people watch the video, it smells bad to them.
Yeah, like that one fucking South Park game. That was so strange.
Oh, wait, what are you talking about?
It was like a South Park game, and you got like an extension for it, and you put it on your nose, and it would like
What?
fart, and it would stink.
That's
It would
insane.
be stinky.
Wow.
It
They fucking
was
shipped
like
smell vision in a
it
game.
was literally called
Dude,
smell vision.
holy shit. That's wild. I didn't know about that. Oh my god. That's like a dream thing for me to ship smell in a game,
I'm
bro.
just double checking that this isn't a fever dream I had and is an actual thing. Yeah, South Park
Jamie,
brings
pull that up.
smell-o-vision
Look
and
up
more
South Park
farts.
smell-o-vision. I don't think that's true. Jamie,
Fuck you,
can
Jamie.
we double check? We double check what happened on that day. How many people died?
I mean, yeah, that's really something else.
I don't know. I've thought about smell vision in games for so long. Every time I ship a game, I'm like, I wish I could ship a smell with this, bro. But like they have freesound.org for like copyright free sounds. They're gonna have like free smell,
Yeah.
like copyright free smells.
That's such an interesting problem, like generating a smell. Like, how do you
Yeah,
manifests as smell.
I think it would be like audio. Like both audio and smells are time series data, right? The problem with smells is it's like chemicals,
Yeah.
but like what you would have to be is it would have to be a machine that like synthesizes different like proteins or something. I don't know chemistry. I never took a chem class, but like it does something, right? And it like
Yeah.
adds the shit together. You know, like the elements, and then like you can program like what elements it makes. So like that throws it together. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
this,
yeah. You
yeah,
just mix and match
yeah,
random
and then
shit.
it'll like, yeah. The problem is like organic compounds are complicated. I know that, and so it would be like actually really hard.
Just accidentally
Um,
make mustard gas. Just kill everyone. Oh
Bro, there's
god.
a bug in your fucking smell rendering, and it
Yeah.
kills. It just makes
It
mustard.
just kills your entire user base.
Like, sorry, bro. I should have written it in Rust, bro. I should have written it in Rust, man.
Like there's been so many
Yeah,
times where we've been in a call and I'm like, damn, this would just be a really nice podcast. But the thing is, like, you can't
yeah,
get to
true.
that state naturally without kind of just almost forgetting that you're even recording the podcast to begin with.
It's just the fucking. That was actually so funny. They're like, is it actually recording or not? And I can't know, dude. I can't know.
You never
Oh
know, bro. You'll
god.
never know. We'll
No.
we'll be like fucking like 1 year deep into this, doing like weekly episodes, and you still don't know.
Bro, it's a psyop, bro.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
was some fucking agents. Do you remember your Twitch chat when the guy told you the git command that just like broke it? I was like laughing when he did that
That was
shit, bro.
fucked
I
up,
was
bro. That was
that
fucked up.
was so funny.
You see,
I
I don't
was
know
like,
whether
dude,
that was
you made
like
a branch.
purposefully done or just that person was dumb, you know?
I think what it was. So I like remember learning Git like 5 years ago in like high school, or whatever. And like I remember what you would do is you would Google like how to check out to a branch. It would
Yeah.
just tell you a command and you would copy paste it without knowing what it does.
Yeah, yeah.
So he probably just like knew that this is how you like make new branches. So he just assumed. He made like a logical leap. Like,
Yeah,
oh, if
yeah.
I just put the like commit hash in there. But like it made a new one
It
called the same
made a
thing.
new
So
branch
that's
with
like,
my hash. To be fair, like actually
so
Sublime merge locking up on me and not opening and working at all has probably been very good for me because it's forcing me to actually learn the Git command line now. And now I actually know my way
yeah.
around. Like, I kind of know how to, like, jump back a bit, check out. I know how to,
I guess so.
like,
That's like, but that it's like
um,
I went to the supermarket today, and like they didn't have any food, and everybody was starving, and I think that was a good thing because then I learned how to farm at my house, and so I think like it's like
true, true. I would like Sublime Merge to not freeze on me. Like, I literally just open up the application and it's stuck there. It doesn't move or anything. I can't close out of it. I have to end task it.
yeah,
What
yeah.
the fuck? What is going
For
on?
Handmade Hero,
What?
for Handmade Hero, he just for Handmade Hero. I heard he just copy pastes for his version control every day he works. I just copy paste the file, like the entire project, like every day.
That's that's based. That's version control for real men, you know?
Yeah, somebody like told him to use Git, and he just like shit on them. I remember that. It's like, God, he's fucking funny, dude.
I love Casey. I've actually been watching his performance aware programming series that he's been doing up on Substack.
Yeah,
I subscribe and everything. It's actually fucking good, dude. It's really good.
I got a free subscription to that. I want to check
Really?
it out, but I don't. Yeah, yeah, well, yeah. Somebody just gave me like a month subscription.
Oh, nice.
Um, I want to check it out, but I haven't had time.
It's
You know,
replaced
it's code word for I have
my
other priorities.
it's replaced my nightly kind of Netflix. So now instead of just like sitting down and watching Netflix, like watching some TV shows or some shit, I just sit down and I watch a little bit of C. Matori spin some hard facts, and it's a lot of fun. I especially like the part where he
Yeah,
compared an ad in C to an ad in Python, and the one in Python was doing 180 unnecessary instructions. That was a lot of fun. That was
that's funny.
I like it.
Yeah, well, because in Python everything's like a boxed like object, right? Yeah, that's just a problem. That's like I stopped liking scripting languages when I like worked on Godot's scripting language, and like it was just such a mess, dude. The like parser, it was like 30 or 40 like if statements deep and like all this shit, and then I would be like spending like days like trying to fix some bug where it just like crashes if you type the wrong keyword. And it's like, oh, they like forgot, like I don't know. It was after that I was like, maybe we don't use scripting languages.
Maybe we don't.
Yeah.
It's been such a treat using Jai recently though. Like I've just been rocking up to my editor and just really enjoying the process of just programming again. It's amazing, you know? And I like
That's cool.
be going through the docs a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, this is a lot of fun. Like last night, I couldn't get to bed, so I just booted up my PC. I was like fucking 2 a.m. I just read some more of the Jai how to. So I've just been working my way through that. I'm like 3/4 done now, so nearly finished.
Yeah, you consult the Jaible.
The Jaible.
Yeah.
I love
Jaible
that.
studies, bro.
Jaible studies, dude. Let's go.
Yeah. I don't think this is canon Jai. I think this is blasphemy. I have like three semicolons.
God damn. What's your favorite thing about Jai
Then
so
there's
far?
oh, I remember. I just like how the fucking there's like a unified syntax for everything that's like constant with like the two colons.
Yeah,
I
that's
remember
pretty
that
cool.
was cool because then I can actually like grep for shit, but like with C, I mean I know Ryan he has like a function keyboard. That's definitely the right thing to do because like without that
Mm,
you have to like come up with some wizard five head fucking regex that's like 10 pages to find out the functions. I
yeah.
don't know. I need to do that a lot.
Do you grep for shit
Man,
like
fucking
24/7?
yeah. Well, because like I need to know what's in a type and stuff, and all my variable names are awful, and so like
Okay.
I never remember what things are called. I think my brain like it doesn't remember names of things well at all. Like
Mm,
I don't remember variable names. I always have to look them up. Um,
yeah, interesting. What I've been doing a lot recently is creating like little jump points because I just put everything in the one main file, right? Like
yeah,
I I get people rocking up on the stream and like talking about that all the time. Like, whoa, you got everything in the one file. What's this one space indentation? Like it's yeah. Anyway, what I do in there is I have like these little jump points where I'll just have a comment and then I'll go like at and then a name or something. So I have like all these little jump points that I can just like control F and jump to straight away by typing out a certain thing like at entity or at map and it'll get me to where I need to go. I find that really helpful because then you like memorize
yeah,
like those kind of names and then they just launch you into where you need to go, which is pretty cool. But in terms of like actual function names,
yeah,
I'm well, not function names. I mean, sometimes, but variable names and shit, I do a lot. Have to kind of just dive through and see what I actually called them, or just type something out and autocomplete will
yeah.
help me out. Because Sublime's pretty good with the autocomplete or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I want to check out the Sublime with Jai just because the tooling seems nice. Um, but I think that problem of like where do you go to edit stuff is like actually the hardest problem in like all of programming because like what the only problem with doing a lot of programming is that like your abstractions just mean that in order to add some behavior to your game or whatever, you need to go to two places and you forget the second place and it causes an issue. But
Yeah.
that happens all the time with me, right? Like that's like the thing where it's not about encapsulation. You want to like localize behavior to
Yeah.
like one
Yeah.
spot.
100%.
But then it's like not clear like how exactly do I do that or like what is the behavior, right? Like how you conceptually segment behavior in a game or something
Mm.
determines where you go to edit stuff, which just directly determines how efficient you are in adding
Yeah.
stuff to the game, which is then the defining factor of success or failure, technically speaking. Um,
Yeah. Like having everything in the one spot
yeah,
where you just like jump to it and then edit it is the best feeling ever.
you need it, or else you're fucked.
Yeah, you're fucked. If you're scattered
Yeah,
across like two different locations even, it's so much harder.
yeah, it's really bad. That's like why you make functions so that you don't have to edit two things. It's not so you can type less. It's so like when you edit one thing, it also edits the other thing. Um,
Yeah.
And if that wasn't a
a
problem, yeah.
I wrote a really nice abstraction for timers yesterday.
Oh, you figured that out? That's cool.
Yeah, it's very easy, extremely simple. It's just what I've been doing this entire time, except it's just pulled out into a little function. Like it's
Oh,
basically
is it a
like
macro or function?
it's just a function. You could make it a
Yeah.
macro, but what
Yeah.
it does is you just literally have a float that you store, right? And that float, if you set it to a value of like 20 or something, now it's a 20-second timer, it'll tick all the way down to zero. It'll target down to zero. So now you just do this in your main update loop. And now, so you've got this kind of state that you're storing. That's your timer. And you just call this function advanced timer or whatever you want to call it. And you pass in the address of that float. And it'll just tick it down
Yeah.
by the delta time down to zero. As soon as it goes past zero, -1, or, we've just ticked down to the time and now we're complete. So then you literally clear the timer, set it to zero. And any timer that's set to zero, you just say, okay, well, this timer is not doing anything. It's just at zero. It's
Yeah.
not going. And in that function, I just have a return value of a boolean, and that boolean basically says this frame, did it complete or not? So then you just go like if advanced timer, and then that if statement is literally the body of like that's when the timer finishes, and that's when you do the logic. It's really fucking clean.
Yeah, I just like read the code in a new tab. It's a lot like an immediate mode API for
Yeah,
times. It's cool. Like that usually events they like have to make a new data structure and you're like pushing to something and that always is a problem for like a bunch of other reasons. Making an immediate mode like that is cool. Like
yeah,
yeah,
because you can
every
you can
game
really
engine
just like
like
slap
yeah.
it in with. It's like yeah, you just slap it in with the functionality that you're actually trying to do. Like that's like that was all
Yeah,
like
it's just right
state
there.
stuff. It's right there. It's so good.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's the thing I was saying with the locality of behavior. Like
Yeah,
in Godot, you would make a new timer object, right? But now it's like somewhere else other than where the code you're editing is, and so you'll like edit something there and forget to edit the timer. Like the timer needs to connect to something else, right? And when you have connections between two things you need to remember to edit, you're super fucked because
yeah,
then like there's like consequences of like something somewhere that's like not you forgot about in the other place and then it just causes everything to break and nothing gets done ever and then the game
yeah.
dies and then you go work at Applebee's.
Like even if you have to create some kind of like timer object or something, just outside every single time you need to make a timer, you're like, yeah, let's boot up a new timer over here. That's still like 2 points that are annoying as shit. So with this timer,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just based off the entities, and I've just got a mega struct there.
Yeah.
And in the entity,
Yeah.
you just have the float in there, and you just reuse it for everything. So it's
Yeah.
like you're not really going to be doing 2 times at once. I mean, if you are, then just make another float in the entity, and now you got timer A, timer B, done. You know,
Yeah.
you
And it's
just
all
reuse
compile
that for
time
everything.
too. It's not like dynamic.
Yeah,
Yeah, you don't want dynamic. You don't want dynamic. You want compile. Like I remember like in Godot, I just remember this. They have this keyword yield in like the language, and it means like okay, we're gonna pause execution until like this signal is emitted, right? Like this thing happens, right? So what beginners are told to do is to create a timer object, and then like after half a second, we'll like resume where we were, like in the function, right? And so they like you put that everywhere in your code. And gamers are like nothing. Games are nothing but timers, right? Basically, a bunch of shit happening after half a second, like a second.
yeah,
And so there's those everywhere, scattered like little like landmines. Then you're like, oh shit, I need to like change the scene, right? So I need to unload everything, like reload everything. What would happen is you would delete everything when you like switch to a new level, but it would still try to go back to when the timer was done because the timer was a separate object. And so
yeah,
now like it'll like go to shit that wasn't there and it would just crash and it like was bad. So you can't use that ever. It just doesn't work. Like you have to like do something else. It's really good having the data in the struct for like time left because then it's not like that, right? When the struct dies, the timer also dies.
yeah.
And there's not this like separate thing. Like
Yeah, having all
yeah,
the state just in one spot, and then you just do a mem set. Well, you don't actually do a mem set in Jaible now because we got default variables, but I just like copy it over to
yeah,
an empty struct. Yeah, and you know that like once you've done that, like that's literally it. Like that's where your entire state lives. So it just makes
yeah. You
things
really
so
want
much
that.
easier. Like if you want to reset the
Yeah,
world, you literally just copy the world into you copy an empty world struct into the world, and now you've reset it. Done. You just call inits, or whatever.
That shit is also super critical for netcode. Like that operation is like what you need to do netcode. That's like the hardest part of netcode is being able to duplicate your game state efficiently, because you often need to go like back in time and shit, or like just like remember what happened corresponding to some kind of inputs. And so that's like always the thing. It's like, okay, but you have to make sure you can, like if you think about it for most game engines, that shit is such a mess.
Oh god,
really bad.
It's fucked up. It is impossible. You have any kind of like object-oriented system, it is messed up, because you got all these different like lifetimes of objects and new and delete flying around everywhere. It's fucked up.
Yeah, and like in Godot specifically, what you would do is you would like make a function called like from string and then toString, and then you would recursively call for like each object. So like give me a string that is this object. You'd make it up for like a bomb is like it returns like the seconds into like a string or whatever, and now you have a giant string that you send over the network. But that's like awful for so many reasons. And then like that's why I made asterisk from scratch, was because I was like, in Godot this is just going to be bad, and like in any game engine this is going to be bad because I don't know the lifetimes of shit. What I was able to do was have like what you were saying, like a flat struct just called game state. Then I can do E equals and memcopy, and it works out. There was some extra finagling with the physics engine because it was unfortunately written object oriented. So I just needed to like encapsulate that in like another function called like copy physics world, you know. But yeah, that
how are you doing nowadays with physics? You did a lot of research on it for asterisk to try and do it from scratch, right?
Yeah. I got to the point. I got to the point where like I could sit down and do a first pass of physics. So yeah, I like tried a few times. I ended up needing to delete everything just because I did it wrong. I don't know. It's a hard problem because it doesn't crash when there's a problem, and so you have to like look. Yeah, and you see there's just packaging wrong. Right, that's bad. The other thing is I just got sent a paper from like this other game guy, and he was like, "Yeah, bro, you're doing it wrong." And I'm like, "What?" Apparently, some nerds a few years ago figured out like a way better way to do it than like how I was doing it. So I'm gonna switch to that. I need to read that paper now. But it should be pretty cool because you can get like big aircraft carrier with like 500 landing gear. They can like land on a planet correctly, you know?
Yeah.
Shit like that is like what this game supports, or like what it needs to support.
What is asterisk, by the way?
It's about...
Now this is where the illusion is broken of you not knowing that we're recording.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's... somebody doesn't have the context of like friends for a year or whatever. Like, oh yeah. So, dude, I wish I had parasocial friends. I want parasocial friends. I was like saying that earlier.
I love parasocial relationships. They would
go to the Steam. They would wishlist, bro. I'm your friend. I'm your friend.
I'm your friend if you buy the game on Steam.
It's so evil. I can't not say that that's so evil after I say that, because it's like terrible.
Yeah, I mean, like, looking at it from the actual perspective of, like, all right, well, what's the whole deal on this parasocial thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, you just don't have the bandwidth to be able to know 10,000, 100,000, a million people, and it's like
OnlyFans.
Yeah, it's just OnlyFans. Yeah, sure. And
what a fucking business! What a fucking business! Parasocial, but like parasocial dating, dude.
Parasocial dating.
Genius.
It's actually five-head as fuck.
It's so five-head, dude. Like holy shit! Man.
I cannot remember where I was going with that whole thing, but basically, insert insanely base take about parasocial relationships and call it a day. Sweet.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, I don't know. Somewhat like what I was thinking about, I was like listening to a podcast, and then I was thinking like, I think that what this is it's like replacing like friends. Is like listening to these Reddit people talk for like an hour.
That's exactly what I have when I'm listening to The Yard. Great podcast. And that's exactly what we are creating right now by sitting here talking and doing this podcast.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's so funny. I hope so,
Layers
dude.
and
Oh
layers
god.
and layers, baby. This is like
The
Inception.
world is actually I like hate the world is so bad. The world is bad. The world needs a refactor, bro. There's like this is like some bad programming to like people listen to podcasts. Like
Yeah.
I don't even know what's going on with that. Like there's just something. In like 100 years, they're gonna look back at this like asbestos or something. And they're like make fun of it. Like they used to like have podcasts, but like they didn't know the dangers of like
It's like
it's like
smoking
I don't
cigarettes
know.
or some shit.
Yeah. I predict that the world is not going to end in 20 years from AI. There's going to be probably a lot more human time, and every 100 years, there's going to be a big generational thing that was like smoking. It's going to become like a meme to
Yeah.
historians 500 years from now. There's going to like 100 things that were bad, and then like this time we figured it all out. There's no more terrible things that we don't understand.
And then there'll be another terrible thing.
Yeah, it'll just be like that forever. Like there's
Yeah,
some
we'll just keep
awful
going.
thing.
Have you you still haven't read Metamorphosis of the Prime Intellect, right?
Yeah, I want to fucking read it. I read like 5 pages of it, but I can't read shit because I was listening to these podcasts. It's awful.
It's man, that book fucked me up. That's
It's the
it's
best
just
books.
God.
The best books do the
God.
worst to you.
That book fucked me up. The end of the podcast with John Carmack and Lex Friedman fucked me up. It's like
Oh wow.
I just want to
Yeah.
hurry up and get this game done before the fucking singularity happens, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, with the singularity stuff, okay, I have a controversial opinion, but I only have it just in case everybody's wrong, not because I actually think it, right? Like I want
Okay.
to like be the guy because there's no use in believing that the world ends in 5 years, right? Because if it does, who cares if you were right? So I'm just thinking like just be wrong, and that way, in case it doesn't happen, you get to gloat. And so I think it won't happen.
You see,
Um,
I would like hear people talking about the singularity and like instantly fucking like just blank out, be like, oh yeah, whatever. Until I actually kind of understood what it is. And it's not like the
yeah,
world is ending. Alright, so this is from like the Metamorphosis of the Prime Intellect kind of view. Great book, by the way. Highly
yeah,
recommend. Kind of just spoiling it here, but it's not really spoiling it. This is kind of general information. It's
yeah,
it's not so much the world ends, it's just you get infinite computation at your hands, and you can talk to this dude who can literally give you anything. You just
yeah,
have anything. Like
yeah,
anything you want. You can just say, and like the holodeck in Star Trek, or like you can just I don't know how to explain it. It's just an infinite kind of creation engine. So let's say, all right, I wanna play a game. I wanna like have a nice 3D MMO RPG with my homies, and we're all gonna be
yeah.
big busty anime goth titty bitches, and we're gonna run around slaying some dragons, right?
Base?
Based, and then they'll just spin it up for you, and now you go and do that, right? You say,
Yeah.
hey, can you like go into my brain and just push the button that gives me infinite pleasure forever? And you're like, boop, and then you just sit there, right?
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? What could go wrong?
It's the fucking like, oh, what will happen? I'm really not sure. Let's just let's just make it so everybody listens to podcasts. Nobody has friends. What could go? Let's...
I was actually talking to an old high school friend at the start of like mid last year. It doesn't really matter when it happens. I don't know why I'm trying to give dates here. But I was talking to him, and he also listens to The Yard, and we were kind of like talking about what's fun about it and like what purpose does it serve. And
Yeah.
his take was pretty much the exact same thing, but he was like incredibly self-aware about it. It's like, yeah, I mean, I just kind of use it for social interaction, so I don't really have to
Yeah.
go and socially interact. I can just watch this, and I'll be like, yep, I'm all done.
Yeah.
And then he just goes and plays video games, and
Wow.
he's just living the life, man. Just living the life, living with parents, playing games all the time, listening to The Yard. Like,
Yeah.
I would fucking do that if I
Like,
could, you know? That's good.
yeah, I was talking to my dad, and like he's like 40 or 50, right? So he's just lived in the world for a while, and we were talking about like NEETs or like living with parents, and he was like, "Yeah, it's a pretty good gig if you can get it." Like he was like, "It's a good thing."
Yeah.
Like this like guy who like lived life and like figured his shit out was like, "Yeah, it's actually like a it's a nice gig if you can get it." I just
This is really nice. Yeah.
yeah, man, it's a nice gig. It's like actually pretty nice. It's like not you know
Like,
what that kind of reminds me of like
yeah.
in the 1600s or the 1700s or whatever, you used to like if you wanted a hammer, you would go to the hammer guy, the carpenter or the smith, and he would actually like make you the hammer, right? Be like, thanks, man. Here's like a quarter of my income for a year. He's like, all right, yes, because it's like one guy, right? That's a lot of effort for him to make one thing.
Yeah.
And then we started mass manufacturing things, right? We scaled it up. And because of how capitalism works, that's like instantly rewarded and propagated everywhere. If you can do something for cheaper at scale. And so now everything is mass manufactured. You don't go to the hammer guy, you go to Hammer Co. And they own every company because that's like how it's happening.
Amazon.com.
Yeah, like you go to Amazon or whatever, you buy hammer, and then it's like very, very cheap. And so you can spend your time doing other things. I think the same thing is happening for social interaction. Podcasts, they're like mass manufacture. Instead, where you would go to one guy, now it's like they mass manufacture a friend group for everybody. And now people don't need friend groups anymore. They can just like do whatever else is being done.
Now this is the friend group for people who like programming, video games,
Yeah.
and cum. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, man. Fuck. It's over. That's like what I'm thinking. Like it's so over, bro, for humanity. Like holy fuck. Holy fuck.
It's not long before we're all just laying in our tubes, in our Amazon tubes.
Bro, like we're already there. Like we're already there with like the like at home listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
That's like already what it is. There's no difference.
We're just laying there in stasis, gamer goo being injected into our veins. Fleshlight attached.
Holy shit. It's like so. You see Jordan Peterson tweeted that like the like sex dungeon thing, and he was like, "This is China CCP." It's really funny.
Bro, I used to be so Jordan Peterson pilled back in the day. Like when I was I was like 17 to like I don't know, a few years. I like read the shit out of his book like 7 times. I would like listen to all his lectures and shit. And then at some point I like kind of like felt I like started drifting a little bit. I'm like, yeah, let's go find someone else to have as a role.
There's always a guy.
There's always a guy.
Like a guy you pick.
There's a guy.
There's
you
always
pick.
a guy.
Right now for me, that's Alex Samosi. You know, you just pick someone and you're
and
like.
Also like and also like they're always like halfway universally hated. Like there's nobody that isn't like hated on some level.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Except for maybe Germa. I think Germa isn't hated, but he like the reason Germa isn't hated is because he like isn't really anybody. He's kind of like just like a vague clown. And there's not like anything to hate because it's not really there.
I don't really know anything about Germa outside of what the Yard Boys have talked about with him.
Wait, they talk about what'd they say?
They're just random shit scattered throughout weeks and weeks. Like I'm dead ass. I am like last time I watched The Yard was like a month ago or so I'm not 100% caught up. But I've watched every single episode up to a month ago.
Wow.
It is insane. Yeah. It's like fucking 80 or something.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's insane, but it's like it's a good podcast, you know?
Probably good.
It's really fucking good.
I need to watch that shit, dude.
It's good shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, fuck man.
Kind of got derailed a bit there. I've no idea what I was about to say. This is just gonna be a recurring fucking theme. We'll just go off on like tangents everywhere, and then we'll never actually answer the first point that we started on, and then the podcast
we'll never
will
say
end,
anything at all,
and then done.
Well, it's like filibustering. It's like we're just filibustering. Just all like stop recording, or like,
yeah.
Nah, dude, I was fucking something you said earlier. Where it's like if you could ask the AI to do anything, there's this quote or like thought experiment from somebody I don't remember, but they're like, imagine for a moment if you could actually dream anything you wanted to, right? You would start off maybe getting your wildest pleasures being pursued or whatever, right? But then that gets boring, so you want to do other things, right? So you dream some kind of adventure. Eventually, after infinite time, you start dreaming every adventure, and then one of those dreams is the life you're living now, and like that's like the idea is like at some point you would live this life. There were infinite dreams.
Yeah. 100%. At the end of the day, God, right? What's he doing? What's he doing up there? If you were God, what would you do?
Yeah.
And I would create exactly what we have right now.
Jack off?
Yeah. Just beat my meat all the time.
Yeah, if there were no... I don't know. Watch Netflix, check my Gmail, then go to... No messages for God.
Well, like,
I have all the prayers answered by a secretary.
in terms of like the entire universe and everything, if you were God and you had to create anything, like you had nothing, okay? Now you create something.
Yeah.
What would you create out of nothing? What would you do? And the answer is just exactly what is reality right now. Because that's what he did, and that's what we are. So what's up?
Yeah, there's this Wolfram. Wolfram, well, I guess you might know him, but people listening, like a quick summary is he's trying to figure out what the equation that describes the entire universe is. Not just the equation, but like program. Like he's trying to figure out, his theory is that all of existence is a computation or just a program. He's just trying to figure out what it is for the entire universe. And he's had some promising results where he reproduces time and some other element of the universe, another basic element from a basic computation. And
it's fucking insane, dude.
Yeah, he believes that, like, so a couple things, right? The equation for the universe might actually be simple, might be on a postcard, right? Which would be pretty cool. Because I would get that tattooed in my nuts or something. And then, like, the other thing is, like, he has this idea where, like, the universe is just like one subset of like all possible universes computationally, right? And he calls it the Rulliad. So all of existence is not just this one, but anything computationally possible is happening. But that was like his take. But he's also like, he streams on Twitch to like 40 viewers. Maybe he's wrong. This is a popularity contest.
I mean, if you look at everything as one big popularity contest, then you're gonna miss out on a lot of gems like that, you know?
Yeah, I love the like 12 viewers. 12 viewer like streams are always the best ones. It's never the like big ones.
Always.
There's always like the 12 viewer crazy guy ranting about the universe. He's like, I think that like light when it bends, it's going through the Rulliad and like everything. It's like, yeah, man, let's fucking. I want a parasocial with this guy.
Fuck yeah, dude. You know, some good shit. Yeah. So the singularity isn't really about the world ending. It's more so about not really having a purpose. Like once you get everything, now it's like, now what, right? And this is literally just spoiling the book. I can't go any further than this. That's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I did read this other short story that's kind of similar premise we were talking about. And in the end, the only currency that matters when you can do anything is other human suffering. And so like the place everybody goes is some kind of like gambling place in this like ethereal realm where like, even though you can have anything you want, inside of the other person's realm, you don't have control. He has control, and he makes this like gambling place where there's a currency and you only use the currency to like cause other people to suffer in some weird like sexual thing. And like the idea was like, that's the only, like when you can do anything and everything, the only thing that actually matters is when another real person does something, right? Like makes food for you or something, right? And then the food is more valuable just because you care about that for some reason. Yeah, I don't know. Money's crazy.
It's kind of weird because as game developers, what we're literally trying to do is play God and make games for people to play. Like, in the literal sense of having something meaningful to do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just what game design is. And it's kind of insane. But a lot of fun at the same time because you can design anything you want. Like, it might not be good, but...
Yeah. Like, something I used to think was like, games are, so traditional media like stories or paintings, they're static. Games are interactive, right? So that's like one attribute of this new medium. And something about that is you're kind of creating a story that somebody else, you're creating like a story generator. You know what I'm saying? Like when somebody plays a game, they now have a story to tell about beating the game. Just listening to a story, you're just like directly receiving a story. It's not generated on the fly.
Yeah.
So games are like meta stories, right, about what you should be doing with your time. That was like my idea. But then I thought about it and I looked into other art more. And actually, at the highest level, other artists like Leonardo da Vinci designed the Mona Lisa so that when you look at her nose, I don't know if this is true, but I'm pretty sure it is. There's like a blind spot under your eye. When you look at her eyes, her smile flex into it's dynamic. It flexes into a smile, and when you look at the mouth, it's flat, right? Like he designed it for that, right? And design and architecture is about creating a story as you navigate the building of like why you're there and all that stuff, right? And so all art, you're creating something. You're trying to create a meaningful experience for people at the
Yeah.
end of the day. Um, but the problem is you can't work backwards from that. That doesn't seem to work, right? Like art cannot be an engineering process because
Yeah.
things with very high budgets have terrible stories in writing.
Yes.
Um, so there's
That's
just something going on there
that's kind of
that I can't
that's
explain.
kind of what Old Mate explores in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance is this idea of quality. And
Yeah,
you can't have a definition of quality. You can't be like, all right, quality is this, this, and this, and you can't like get there with
yeah,
some kind of blueprint. It's
yeah,
like this ethereal kind of thing that cannot be defined, but you know when you see it.
yeah,
Like you can tell
yeah.
when
That's kind of
something's
like yeah,
good or bad, like when it's quality or not quality. Like you
yeah.
can
Most
try and
machine
reason about
learning,
it,
yeah,
but at the end of the day, you just yeah,
yeah. Most machine learning right now, there's a big problem where it doesn't explain its reasoning and it just knows good or bad, right? It might just be that a fundamental part of existence is there's no closed form description of why, like quality, right? Like that might be like a property of all everything. Um, that wouldn't surprise me that like some things cannot be explained in direct terms.
yeah,
Yeah, like Stable Diffusion, the text to image generator that was free. For all of it, people thought that at first that it was like copy pasting from parts of the art it saw to make the photos, and they were saying that it's plagiarism because of that. But the size of the training data set that Stable Diffusion was fed, for every single image, it stores about maybe 1 byte in its memory. So there's no way it has any recollection of any images, right? So it is like just that's not physically possible. Just somehow in the super large, like 8 GB or whatever. I don't know if it's that big. It might be like 3 or 4. I don't remember. But somehow in that just big jumble of matrices and weights, it learned art. Like it's the same thing with quality. It's like you can't describe it, it can't explain why it made like the tiara point in this certain way, but it still looks aesthetically pleasing.
yeah,
In the same way, you can't like describe what makes good art or like something that would produce a meaningful experience. It's always like the rock stars or something. It's like the rock star type. It's like they just know what to do. They're like created from the human organism.
yeah. And then you ask them for an explanation of, all right, how do you do that? And then it's just like, I don't know,
Yeah.
dude. I just did it.
Yeah, it's the worst. That's what you get for machine learning. It's like, I don't know, I just like made it, bro.
Yeah. Like, that's why I fucking hate the idea of reading game design books.
Yeah, like
Like, yeah,
so I think that
let me
yeah,
explain how to do game design here so you can go do it perfectly.
yeah, yeah, there is a careful thing there that I realized is that so art in general, there's a large body of technical knowledge which you have to master, right? So specifically with games programming, there's like esoteric programming stuff that doesn't matter without the context of the art, right? Or like knowing how to tune a piano is useless unless somebody's playing music and making art with it, right? These are all technical things which you can learn and master and like learn in textbooks. And then there's also stuff like music theory, right? Like knowing all that shit, you either need to randomly play notes until you understand aesthetic qualities of music theory, or you need to learn it directly.
Yep.
But in either way, you need to know that information to make the art,
Yep.
right? Same thing with painting, light and shadow. You do studies on those things, and then you can make art, right?
Yeah.
I think there is a game design. There is an aspect of game design that is technical study that you need to master before you can make the art, right?
Yeah.
Because art is about manipulating these things to say something, right? Or to communicate on some level.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
need to know the words to communicate, right? And so there is that. But like I haven't found game design textbooks that correctly know what the language of game design is because I don't think it's very like pat down what
Yeah,
it is.
I've seen like a couple of examples of like yeah, like you'll just read like, a game design book and they'll just throw a bunch of fucking definitions around and be like, yeah, this is a
Yeah.
feedback loop or something, or this is I can't even remember any of the terms because they're all just different fucking terms, and it's like, yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah,
But I don't really know. I feel like the best study of game design is just playing games and feeling like what feels good, and then trying to
yeah.
recreate that feeling.
The same can be true of music. Like I think a
Yeah.
lot of music theory, it's only useful for like jazz, right? A lot of high level game design might only be useful for other people who are aware of the concepts there. Um, there is this real, very real danger of like getting so academic. You're talking in a different language than people are communicating in, and so you will never be compensated for your work if you care about that.
Yeah.
But I think that like so with game design books, like there is also I know some game designers who think that the statement I said where we don't know what games are yet is really wrong. They think that like it's mostly like Mario and Nintendo games. They figured out like what it is, and then everything else is either just like a worse version of that or like it's a correctly executed version of that, right? I
Yeah.
don't think that that's true because I think that those games, like Nintendo games in general, feel very processed. They feel very like inauthentic, just explorations of simple, discrete game elements. And while it's like it's interesting, right? It's not. It does not resonate with me. Like it's very, very. It's a very like fleshed out, clean product. Something about that I don't like as
What
much.
would you say about Breath of the Wild
Um,
then?
so I really liked it for like 20 or 30 hours, but I wasn't able to finish it just because I wasn't into it. Like I didn't care about the story. I didn't want to know what would happen.
Yeah.
And the game itself wasn't interesting to me after just messing around with it for a little bit.
Yeah, that's
Um,
kind of what's happened to me. I'm like a few hours in, and I have no draw to go back to it. I don't know what it
yeah,
is, but I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe I just need to play more games, and I don't know. It's just nowadays I feel like there's nothing I'm very excited to just go play. It's more of like I'm excited to sit down and make something that I can play potentially. Like at some point there was a switch that flipped, and it was back when I was playing Daisy, and I wanted to make a better Daisy. And then
yeah,
still somewhere along the way, I'll have like little stints of like, yeah, let's go play a bit of Minecraft with the homies, you know. But I don't know, maybe I just need to play more games because when I do actually play the games and I am getting caught up in it and enjoying it, it is a lot of fun, and it does act as motivation for me to slingshot back into game dev and be like, yeah, let's go recreate this, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
I just need to like
definitely.
make a practice of it and actually sit down and do it. Not like force myself to do it, but allow
Yeah,
myself to not really. I don't know. I think it's just a work issue of like
yeah,
me beating myself up for not working.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah. You might need to get over that activation energy where it's like once you like force yourself to play a game for half an hour, then you're into it and you're into
Yeah.
flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
100%.
I got to check out that game Flow because I heard they did dynamic difficulty adjustment to try to induce flow, and that's interesting to me. Um, but
Interesting.
like, yeah, what was I saying? I that like problem of like making games and not playing them, I recognized like a few years ago. I was like, dude, this is bad. Like all I'm doing is making games. I don't know what to make, right? Like I don't know. It's hard to like imagine like trying to make music but you're not listening to music. You're kind
Yeah.
of doomed, right? It's fine if like
Just get
you
out of
kind of listen to
touch.
music, you get out of touch. You get like not knowing what's going on. Um, I'm drawing a lot of comparisons with music. It's always like the most compulsive authors of novels that make like the best books. Like the people who like it's their calling to like read and like that's they obsessively read, right? Um, I think that the problem might be that like just most games are not it right now. Like they're not actually good. Like most books might be good because we kind of figured that out, but most games are not interesting in the direction that you want to pursue. Is why you don't like playing a lot of games. Um,
Yeah. Just because I can kind of like think of how they could be interesting and the direction that they could go in, but then nothing like that really is out there, or it is out there, but it's kind of like low fidelity and not really done too well, and it's in early access and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
So then it's
Yeah,
like,
like
all
I
right,
want to
well,
hear in the
I,
yeah.
I kind of just got to step up and make it then, and just
Yeah,
bring it
yeah,
into the
yeah.
world.
Yeah, definitely. That's like I definitely see that. Like I think games could be so good, but they aren't right now. That's what draws me to making them kind of.
Yeah.
Um there's all this interesting shit you could try game design wise. Um yeah, man, it's really tricky though. That's like a big fear to become out of touch. And then the biggest fear is like, what if I'm not supposed to be making games right now if I don't like playing games? And then it's like you have to reevaluate your whole career and life path. And then you're just like, man, I guess I'll do something else. I was like in that mode of thinking a few years ago. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm gonna go do machine learning instead of make games. So just like geared up to try and go work for Comma, the self-driving car company and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I took a Coursera on machine learning. I should like switch to that. But then I ended up going back to making games because while I was doing that stuff, I just kept having these like vivid fantasies of what the game could be like if I could
Yeah.
make it. And I was like pulled by that. Um,
It's the best when you're being pulled by that.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it just breathes life into everything you do. When you're kind of following
Especially
that
after coffee.
impulse. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Coffee's good, man. I love it.
Yeah. Translation, you hate Caribbean people.
Yeah, yeah. 100%.
It's a reference to a tweet. I just referred to a tweet, dude. It's over for me. Holy shit.
Game
Fuck, bro.
over,
That's
dude.
bad.
That's fucked
That's
up.
bad, bro.
At least
That's
it's not
bad.
TikTok, though.
Yeah, at least, man. Holy shit. Dude, that's what happens when you don't play games. Your references are like TikTok or something. Like it's too much shitty. I think too much like brain rot media will
Yeah.
actually cause your life as an artist to like dribble out into nothing. Like because that's what your art will become.
I actually noticed that a lot. Uh, when I was in Bali, I had Instagram installed, and I was scrolling through Reels a bit, and then I noticed that my life and motivation kind of turned into something of like, okay, let's become an Instagram influencer and start making Reels.
Yeah.
Like it's insane how easily influenced I was into doing that whole thing. And I was
Yeah.
basically like headed down that path. But then I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? And then kind of just uninstall Instagram and go back to what I actually want to do. Like there's so many different things you can pursue in life and do well and kind of have meaning towards. In other words, there's so many different games you can play, right? But if you're trying to play all of them at the same time, and it's like you got TikTok installed, you got Insta, you're trying to do Twitter, you're trying to be a writer, trying to make YouTube
Yeah.
videos, trying to be a game developer, like I've just spread myself so thin in the past and then just not move anywhere. It's like I'm pushing on all directions but
Interesting.
not moving at all.
I'd be curious to hear more about that because like kind of being like multimodal creating stuff is something that I am somewhat drawn to because like it seems like what you like I wanted to get into painting just because
Yeah.
like it seems like what you want is just more generally like there's some kind of innate drive in people like how much they want to create stuff and it like comes out in different ways um, and it's like I don't know it might be my thinking was like, oh, you probably want like a lot of avenues to create stuff, right? Because then you're kind of drawing from the strong parts of each of them. And even though it might be longer before you have something good, you're kind of this like big front instead of like a concentrated skinny one in one field.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like if you spread yourself too thin trying to do too much stuff, like what was that like? Like
At the end of the day, I say at the end of the day a lot.
you learn?
What? No,
What'd you say?
I was saying at the end of the day, I say at the end of the day a lot.
Oh yeah.
But at the end of the day,
You're always focusing.
there
You're always
is
focusing on the end of the day.
there is that's the best time of day. There's two sides to every coin. I should just be like a fucking like a button that you press and you just get some kind of like really generic like cliche phrase that I just spit out at the end of every sentence.
Yeah, I'm imagining you like sitting in a sofa chair watching the sunset, and then you sigh like, ah, at the end of the day.
I feel like there is a paradox at the heart of every single kind of thing you can talk about here, because there is two sides to every
Yeah,
coin. It's like, okay, well, you can either spread yourself too thin, or you can focus on one thing and rat hole yourself. And
yeah,
maybe we just try and find a nice middle ground, or we skip out on all of that and we just say, okay, you, right here, in this very moment, what do you feel like doing? What do you want to do? What do you really want to go do? Like, what is it? And then you
yeah,
just go do that. I feel like that's the easiest way
yeah.
of solving any kind of problem, game related problem, if you could call
True.
it, in
That's
life,
cool.
of like trying to play the game of
Yeah.
life, is it's like, what do you want to do? And you just
Yeah, what do you actually want to
listen to
do?
that.
When you said that, what flashed in my head was playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 and building a roller coaster. For some reason, that's what that triggered.
Yeah.
Um,
I bought a Switch at the start of the year because I was like, alright, time to play some games. Time to actually start playing some games
yeah,
again. And I got The Witcher, I got Breath of the Wild. I've been playing a bit of Witcher. It's been a lot of fun. Thing is, I played a good 20 hours of it back when I first got a decent PC that could run it.
yeah,
Actually, no, that's a lie. I was playing it on a PC that could barely run it. And I got 20 hours in, and I said,
yeah,
okay, I'm going to save myself for when I have a really beastly computer that can run this really well. And then I got a really beastly computer that could run it really well. Didn't play it at all. And then I sold that
yeah,
computer,
yeah,
and now I'm here with the laptop, and I can't run it on the laptop. So then I got a Switch, and now I'm
yeah,
playing on the Switch. And I'm only just getting to the point where I pass the... I don't even know what to call it. I'm like 20 hours in, which is pretty much
yeah.
how far I was in back when I was on the old PC. So it still hasn't like entirely hooked me yet. Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, I don't know. It seems kind of fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So maybe so this is like what Plato would say. He would say like, okay, there's like lower pleasures and there's like higher pleasures, right? And like what you should do is do higher pleasures instead of lower ones. Like there's like in this case, so maybe he wouldn't agree that a video game is a higher pleasure, but in your case, right, it's like doing something longer form that contributes to like a long term goal
Yeah.
is like what you should try to force yourself to do instead of lower pleasures like Instagram. It's more immediate, right? Um, but I don't know. I think my take on that problem is like it's not about higher or lower pleasures. It's just like there's like a far greater pleasure behind some things that at first seem annoying to do. Like if I think back about the games that like shifted my life in like a major way, I think those are well, it's always like the best creative works are the ones that like shift your life when you see them.
Mm,
Um, and kind of like change your entire being because then it's like I don't know, it's real. It's like a point in your life, unlike the like path. It's a new point.
yeah.
Um, but like I remember like for the witness, like I just didn't want to play it, right? Like I never want to play the games I get into before I play them. I just have to force myself to do it for a bit, and then if it's good, then I really get into it, and then I beat it in like 2 days. Same thing with Outer Wilds.
Yeah.
Same thing with like even like that's like true for everything. It's like you have to. It's always like the first thing is like the hardest, and then it's kind of easy.
You have to
Like
get caught up in playing the game somehow, but it's impossible to get caught up in playing
yeah,
the game if you don't get past that initial resistance and barrier because you have no idea what you're going to be playing or like what the drive is there. But somehow you've got
yeah,
to get into that and stumble into it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
there's been moments in my life
yeah,
where I just automatically kind of stumble into that. Like with Minecraft back in the day, just sunk literally tens of thousands of hours into that game.
yeah, yeah. Which is
And
based, but yeah,
yeah, so but then the thing is now all I really look for is like, okay, well what's a game that's kind of like Minecraft or kind of like a survival game, and then I go play that. Like it's very comfortable and like staying within my bounds of, I know this is good, I know this is fun, I'm gonna play it. Like with Ark,
yeah,
that was fun. Valheim, a lot of fun. Terraria, what a fun.
yeah,
But I feel like I'm definitely missing out on a lot of things outside of my comfort zone that would maybe be fun as well. Because I really just don't like
Yeah,
puzzle games. I fucking hate them for some reason. So
yeah,
the
yeah,
idea of sitting down and playing The Witness is kind of like hell to me.
yeah,
It's like the perfect hell.
yeah.
I think that stems
Which
from
puzzle games did you play?
yeah, I think it stems from back in school playing a bunch of like really shitty
Oh,
cool math games that are kind of
I'm
like
gonna take
puzzle
a piss,
games.
but I can still hear you.
All right, yeah, yeah. I think yeah, back in school playing really shitty cool math games and like there would usually be kind of like puzzle kind of vibes. So I think I just got turned off on that because of the low quality of like the flash games. Played like a couple puzzle platformers on like the PS2 when I was a kid. I think what it really is I get frustrated at not being able to solve the puzzle and then just give up before I push through and get the aha moment and I just feel dumb. Puzzle games make me feel insecure about my intellect. I think that's all it really is. I think that is all it really is. And I was about to say at the end of the day, but we're going to leave it there. So, I don't know. There's also probably something deeper there. It's also maybe like I'm playing a puzzle game. And it's like, well, this is just solving problems. And it just reminds me too much of math problems. I'm like, I'm just solving logic here. I'm just solving for X. Why do I want to be doing this? I want to be doing something fun. So it's just not fun to me. I don't know. I don't know whether it's like I'm not smart enough or it just never hooked onto me as a kid. It's just not really my authentic expression of what I want to be doing or spending my time with. So that's why I don't like it. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. I totally feel that. I think to a lesser degree because when I was younger, like this seems very related to like people's relationship with math, like psychologically. Like I remember from very early on, my relationship with math was positive because I was better than the other kids, and that made me feel good about it. But then the
Yep.
other people who were worse than the other kids, they like hate it, and then math is just hard for them now for the rest of their
Mm.
lives. And I'm like, dude, this is like kind of unfair. Like, I kind of wish there maybe needs to be a game that like resets your feeling because I feel like the feeling and self-image is way more impactful than your actual like the power of your intellect or whatever.
Mm.
Like, because that like self-image controls everything. It controls your life, like your identity. Like,
I can kind of track this back a bit. At the start of school, that was great. Good at math, speeding along. At some point,
yeah,
you like get really good grades, and then people tell you you're smart. You're like, you're a
yeah, yeah,
smart kid, but then you fail, and you get
yeah,
like a slightly not smart result, and then you just give up. It's like, well, I don't want to prove this wrong. My ego is caught up in being a smart person, so if I just don't try, then I'm gonna continue being smart.
that's interesting. That's
It's
interesting.
it's
Yeah,
it's just it's fucking stupid, and it's led me to this day, pretty much just conking out on math. And every time I
yeah,
try and go back into math, it's very much a should kind of vibe of like, yeah, I should really learn some more math and learn how to do transformation
yeah,
matrices properly and do some calculus and blah 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 blah.
yeah, yeah.
But all I hear when I hear that is just this fucking tyrannical man telling me what to do. It's like this little voice in my head is like, yeah, go
Yeah.
learn some math. I'm like, I don't want to fucking learn math. Go die. And that's probably why I don't like puzzle games, because it reminds me too much of math.
Yeah. Well, I for me, what's those voices are flipped. There's like a tyrannical voice telling me to stop like figuring shit out. I don't view it as like learning math. I view it as like conquering unknown. That's how it feels to me when I do math. It
Yeah.
feels like adventurous. Like I feel like somebody is telling me like, no, you should like take a more balanced learning approach and stop like skipping ahead and like be official about it. But then like the thing that the rebellion is like, oh, I'm gonna like learn this anyways, and nobody can stop me. That's how I felt in like 11th grade. When I
Yeah.
was looking at like neural networks or whatever, it made me mad when they were like, you can't learn that because that's like advanced. It's like you can't. And
That's
then I'll be
cool.
like, "Fuck you, I'm gonna learn." Yeah, it's like the voices of
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
the like order of those voices. I think is what affects that
yeah.
because you always listen to the one that's like you always like, I'm not gonna do the authority figure. I'm gonna do the like normal thing.
Yeah. And so there's this. This is a really great podcast, Art of Accomplishment. Would highly recommend to everyone to go listen to that because it's literally
Forgot
just
we were recording again.
yeah, yeah. That's good when we forget that we're recording, you know. But
Yeah.
I is hands down without hyperbole or overhyping this. It is the it has changed my life. It is the best podcast I've ever listened to. It is insane.
Wow. Yeah.
And I've listened to every single episode. Not every single episode, but like up to where I'm at the moment, which is like, I don't know, probably like episode 20. I've listened to the last 20 episodes like minimum twice, some of them 7 times. I just keep listening to them over and over again. As soon as I wake up, I put it on. When I'm going to bed, I put it on. I listen to it every single fucking day, and it's really good. And there's one part in there recently that I've been listening to where there's this thing called unschooling, and there's these smart kids. They're like in school, but they're not really doing any well. They kind of run into this issue of like not trying anymore, right?
Yeah.
And they take them out of school and they unschool them for like 6 months. They say, don't do anything. You can just sit here, chill. No destructive activities like watching TV or anything, because then you just get hooked into watching TV and you fucking go off and scroll TikTok, right? But you don't have to do anything. You don't do anything at all. And then 6 months pass, and then eventually the kid wants to learn, is just hungry to learn. And then they go from like division, like long division, to calculus in like 2 months.
That's so fucking beautiful, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think a lot of it is also the whole schooling system of you sit some kids down and you say, you have to learn this and you have to get good grades. And that instantly
Yeah.
is just like, what? No, fuck you. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's this weird,
Yeah.
like, I remember vividly in math class in school, like, my math teacher, he would walk up to me, and this is especially towards, like, grade 11, 12. I would sit there, and I didn't even take my book out in math class. I just sat there on the table, either just, like, sleeping, or just sitting there doing nothing, or just talking with people. And my math teacher would come around each and every time. This was in grade 12. And he would tell me to bring out my book and like start doing the math problems. And I was just like, no, I don't think I will.
Based.
And
Big a chat.
and I would talk to him and I would say, give me a reason to learn this. And he couldn't come up with a reason that was satisfying to me, so I just didn't do it.
Yeah.
And luckily he was enough of a pushover to just kind of give up there and not kind of like bring the hammer down and be like, detention, blah blah blah. But some teachers, they would do that. They'd just get really fucking angry and like, you know, call your parents or some
Yeah.
shit, right? And at that point I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, fine, I've been beaten into submission, I'll do this. But it's just such a horrible fucking environment. Like,
Yeah.
we as
Yeah, it's
humans
like
naturally
not-
just want to
yeah.
learn and grow and just are hungry to devour new information and just go. Like,
Yeah.
kids don't have to be
And
told
it crushes that.
to learn to walk. They just walk. They just naturally like grow into it. And
They
school
look
kind of
around
just
and they see. Yeah.
yeah. School crushes you. It's like, hey, now you got to be doing all this stuff. But I think about this and I'm like, what if I just get rid of that voice in my head? Not get rid of that voice in my head, but just kind of be like, hey, that's right, bro. I'm just not going to really do that. And I'm going to chill. And I'm going to do my own thing. And I feel like at some point, maybe I'll be that kid who's been unschooled for 6 months and just get really hungry to learn and just fly. And I feel like that's kind of happening to me at the moment with a lot of the materials I've been studying. For a long time there, like last year or so, there's been all these like things that have accumulated of like, okay, Khan Academy, let's go in some calculus. Now to Tetris, let's learn to build a computer from scratch. There's a bunch of examples of that. But it's this same kind of voice in my head of, you should really go learn this because it'll help you in game development. It's not really just learning for the sake of learning. It's like, there needs to be a reason behind this, and you need to go do this because it'll help you improve. It's self-improvement,
Yeah.
really. That's all it is. But recently I've kind of been like, all right,
Yeah.
how about I just not try and improve? What will happen? I don't know. We'll find out. We'll see what happens over the next year.
Yeah, the unschooling thing you have to be careful about because it's about eliminating the voice of authority, right? But now the voice of authority might switch its tone upon learning this and say, no, you shouldn't listen to the voice of authority. And so
Yeah,
now it's become a thing where you have to not listen to it.
exactly.
This is something that happens. There's like that like self-referential paradox in all things where
Yeah,
in Buddhist stuff, it's like you're trying to not have desires, right? But you have a desire to eliminate your desires. Now you're fucked. Right?
yeah,
You can't get past that. You just have to give
100%.
up, actually.
You actually
Like,
just have to give up, just stop, and be like, nope.
it's like, yeah,
But it's tricky because
I,
it's like, well, if you have to give up and stop, now you're trying to have to give up and stop, and now it's just another layer of
yeah,
resistance.
you can't do it. It doesn't work. It's like I heard this that like one of the things that like in some schools of Buddhist thought, they tell a monk, all right, here's what you're going to do to become enlightened. Sit down and stop desiring. And then they try and do that for 10 years and they like reveal it's like, yeah, we were just trying to do that to show you that it doesn't work. Because you're not going to believe us if we tell you. We're like, I don't know. It's like the difference between like believing something because you think you should believe it and like actually directly perceiving it and naturally reacting to that perception. Like
Yeah.
there's something there that can't be prescribed or done due to like the letter on the page. Yeah, there's a quote by Jesus about this that's really cool. A lot of the shit
Gangsta.
Jesus said was actually really cool.
Man spitting facts?
Like actually,
Based?
yeah, he was spitting facts. He was like, he said something like, it was something like the man who thinks that he should do something will not like cross the river, but like the one who does so because he's drowning like gets across. It was like that. Like when you're drowning and you're thrashing because you're drowning, you're not doing it because you think you should. It's just happening, right?
Yeah.
Like things are just, it's like the happening versus the should. But the other thing is like the should is the happening.
Yeah.
It's fucked so bad. I just
Shit's
hate this.
fucked,
I hate
bro.
reality. That was like,
How can we live better? That's at
I
the
don't
core
know.
of every single self-improvement kind of thought. Like, how can I improve myself?
Yeah.
I like that Alan Watts talked it. I don't know if it was you who sent it or I found it. I think
I sent that
I
to
think
you.
you sent it to me. And he was just talking about self-improvement. And he was just like shitting on jogging. That was funny.
Yeah, it was funny. I thought it was funny too. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, I hated John. I could imagine. I could imagine him like writing that down in his speech while he's like staring out the window at some joggers. These people fucking suck.
Yeah. Why do we need to improve ourselves? That's the thing. Like, are we not? Why can't we just trust ourselves that we're going to get to where we want to go without any kind of cracking the whip and being like, you need discipline. You need to,
That's a really good question.
you need to stop jerking off. You need to not watch so much Netflix. You need to go to the gym every single day.
I think that thought is important, right? It seems like those thoughts are important for survival, or just like even. It seems like that shouldn't be something, or I guess that's a should, but like it's not. So the solution is not ignorance and like just ignoring that thought in your head. I think it's like it's got to be something like, so you know how with emotions, right? You feel the anger or whatever, but you don't enact it out. It's more like an information signal, right? Like when you feel angry, you shouldn't like kill everything in the room and throw shit around or whatever. Like you should actually like the correct option is to interpret the anger as like just some data or just information, and then you do something about it, right? Like you don't ignore anger, but you like resolve the unfairness or whatever, right? Like if you're in an abusive relationship and you feel angry, it's very important to follow that anger and like break up, right? Like a lot of times emotions are actually very good, right? They just need to be interpreted. It might be that the signal to improve, it shouldn't be followed, right? To like be a better or whatever, but it's like a signal of something else going on, like psychologically.
Hmm. We're just like sitting on some chairs right now with our hands kind of steepled, like modern day fucking philosophers. Except we're not.
Yeah.
And we're just 20-year-old kids who have no idea what the fuck we're doing with life.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I actually, there's this like 50-year-old guy on TikTok. One of the best TikToks I've ever seen.
Yeah?
Now I'm referencing a TikTok and it's really over. But like, he was fucking, the TikTok was about depression. And like, he said isn't for most of his life, he's been depressed.
Mm.
And it was because he was constantly focusing on what he was losing. He was constantly saying goodbye. He was saying goodbye to his old friends from high school that he was leaving, or he was saying goodbye to the best friends he'd ever had in DC, or goodbye when he was at his friend's wedding. He was saying goodbye to his childhood innocence. Now he was entering adulthood, all these things, right?
Mm.
But then in the end, he was like, every goodbye, I didn't see this, but every goodbye is a new hello. When I said goodbye to my old friends, I said hello to the new ones. When I said goodbye to childhood, I said hello to fatherhood, and all these things.
Mm.
And it made me, that shit was just so real because he was talking from experience. Like it was real. Like he actually lived his life
Yeah.
saying goodbye all the time and focusing on what he was losing. And then he made the shift and he realized you can't lose something without gaining something. And that was like, that video is very important to me. I cherish it.
Sometimes L's be W's, you know what I'm saying? Yodi gang.
Yeah, I know. It's like, the fucking quote is so good. Every L is a W.
Full
It's
crop.
like true. Yeah.
Earlier I said, like modern day philosophers, except we're just 20-year-old dudes who have no idea what the fuck they're doing. I'd like to take that back. The only reason I said that is because I was predicting a comment in the comments section and then trying to like chess game checkmate that, right? But fuck you. I do know what I'm doing. I actually don't, but
actually, yeah. I get like no comments, but like I remember like this one comment on a video. One of my videos was bro think he Plato. I think it was like one of my friends.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. It was like, yeah, I do think I'm Plato. I'm like, think about shit. I don't know. I feel like the truth is everybody thinks they're Plato. Like everybody has these thoughts about what's really happening.
Yeah.
They just mostly don't announce them. I don't know. Maybe somebody wants to hear this.
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, that's the one thing about the scale of the internet that's kind of fucking annoying and being like really just an issue that I've been grappling with for like the last couple years.
Yeah.
It's just like reading comments and then you just get like a couple comments which are kind of like just kind of like poking you, right? Just trying to like fucking do something.
Yeah.
And it's tricky because a lot of them is like there's elements of truth in that, and you wouldn't be reacting or like I wouldn't be reacting or trying to defend something if I didn't think that if there wasn't something there, right? Because if it's just like a fucking mindless kind of comment, or it's like you can easily kind of just dismiss it.
Yeah.
But if there's something kind of there,
it's not true. It's like that's not.
Yeah, you're just like all right. But if there's something there, and I like feel like an emotional kind of like something rise up in me, and I'm like, "Urgh," and I feel like I gotta talk about it or defend myself or something like that. Like it's interesting because it's I actually just have no idea where I'm going with this, but it's just something that continually happens. It's like an emotional kind of fucking gun.
I don't know if you've heard of this like I don't know if you've heard this like anthropology theory that humans are the beta males. But it just makes so much sense to me. It made so much of the world click for me once I heard this. So like there's this idea that like there's like the whole alpha male meme or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it's like people think that like to be alpha you be dominant or whatever, right? But actually, if we look at other species, yes, there are alpha males, right? Like it's not that there's no alpha males. What happened to humans, like in evolutionarily speaking, is we evolved the ability to communicate. And once you can communicate, being an alpha male is actually very bad because all the beta males who aren't getting any just team up and kill you. And so because they can communicate now, right? And so the humans are the beta males who rised up. And so what happened, you can observe this in human culture, right? Whenever there's an alpha male, whenever there's somebody who's like trying to be dominant, everybody else just like teams up and is like, fuck this guy, let's just kill him. And then they get killed. Like that's what revolutions are. It's just like the betas are like, fuck this, we're just gonna kill him. We're just gonna communicate and kill him.
Andrew
and,
Tate.
Like, yeah, like just team up and kill him. He's dominant. Like anybody who's like on now that it's the internet, it's been digitized. Anybody who's like number one and stuff, anybody who's getting all the attention, you just like hate them. Like I feel that pull. I hate them. I'm like, let's just team up and kill him. Let's just like that's like what like. It's what we. That's what we are. We are the beta males who perpetually defeat the alphas, and that's why any position of power is always going to be usurped.
I don't know, because like you look at some of the leaders of the past, and they're kind of just chilling. Like the kind of just
great
really
leaders
good people.
Of humans never dominate. Yeah.
Yes, that's kind of true because they're never kind of. If you're trying to come from like a very alpha perspective of being better than everyone else and dominate and power,
yeah,
then you're gonna get a lot of people kind of throwing rocks at you.
Yeah, because they're the beta. It's just like let's just kill the alpha male. It's like kind of let's just.
So now,
putting up with this guy.
How do you be the alpha male without being the alpha male?
It has to be about representing a movement of people, and you're not in control of it. I think is like how the narrative always goes for people who lead. It's always we are in this together, right? Not I am the domineering one over you, even though that might be how it is in the power dynamics.
So it's kind of giving up control.
Yeah, like you actually genuinely cannot be in total control of the movement if you want to lead something, I think. Like it has to be somewhat people controlled. Yeah.
That's funny because Jesus was like, cool. Yeah, Jesus was a cool guy. Even though he got like staked and shit.
So he was too much of an alpha male, maybe.
Maybe
that's like, yeah, like.
It's on some base shit.
Yeah.
Interesting. What's going on in your world at the moment?
Oh yeah, I forgot to not mention what Astros was because
we haven't done any intros or anything. It was like, yep, this guy is Creikey. He's my homie. That's all you need to know.
From context. You can pick it up from context. You can context clues.
Yeah,
you're like a preschooler.
Like, little nuggets.
I remember doing that all the time.
Yeah.
You like read a book, so you don't know what shit means, but you just try to guess. You're just like, I think.
That's how you learn words. You just like see them in context of the sentences, and then like you may not know the definition, but you can use it in a sentence. You know.
Yeah, maybe that's how you learn game design words. You see them in context a lot.
Yeah.
Forgot to do the intros again. Oh yeah, so
what's going on, boys? Welcome back to podcast number 1. Thank you for being here.
Put the intros at the end.
Yeah, we'll like do it right at the end. Who are you, Creikey? What do you do?
Yeah.
Insert awkward explanation that's very forced about what you do.
Are you doing like the compile time insert from Jai?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was cringe. I'm sorry, that was cringe. That was so cringe.
Dude, I'm like part of the like the main one of the biggest draws to Jai. I haven't even used that yet. Like I've not done any fucking compile time runs yet. I just haven't gotten up to that point in the how-to. Like I don't know how to do it.
So good. You don't need it. That's really good, actually. That's really good. Have you read the temperance file?
The what?
There's a file at the end of the how-tos called 999 temperance, and it's just like a few paragraphs of John saying, "Do not use features when you don't need them to. Do not."
True.
Like, it's like please
so
write less
true,
software.
dude. Holy
he was saying,
fuck,
like,
that's based. Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah. It's the whole thing is just about do not write software if you can. Avoid writing software.
Yeah.
That was like, yeah, it's
No,
so
because
good.
I've been working my way through the how-tos of Jai, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm never gonna need any of this shit. Like, I'm not gonna use any of this.
yeah.
And
That's
then,
the correct.
yeah,
Yeah,
like fucking polymorphism, like basically just like having like little, yeah, just different types you can like pass in and use, kind of like templates in C++. I'm like, I don't really need to do that. I can find other ways.
yeah,
Like maybe I'll need it one day, but who knows?
yeah, yeah. No, that's the same thing with
That's
math.
good that
Yeah.
that he's got that at the end.
Yeah, that he hates that. I don't know. I that whole how-to was kind of fun to just sit down and read in like a few
It's
days.
really nice to
Um,
read. It's so fun. I've just been working my
it
way
was
through it.
funny. There were like jokes and shit. Yeah, for
Yeah,
people. Okay, wait. We need to provide context for this because
we
people
do.
might not even.
We're just fucking sitting having a conversation. We're like loaded up in our mind, and there's like 5 other people watching this who also have like the Jai beta, and they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they know, but most people don't know. Okay, we need to start from
All right, back
okay, in
up.
the beginning.
Jai.
God said, "Let there
Okay.
be light."
Yeah,
No, we
yeah.
gotta.
God said, "Let there be light," and then at some point, Jaible was spitting some mad light and wrote Jai, and now we have the best programming language known to man.
That's like the Kool-Aid. That's the Kool-Aid pill. It's
Yeah,
like that's
yeah,
what you
yeah.
say. Or that's the check to make sure you say that after you drink the Kool-Aid.
Yep, yep, yep.
So John is a game designer who made 2 big games, and he was tired of using C++, so he made an alternative called Jai, and it's just got a lot of interesting stuff in it. It's been worked on for like 10 years, and it's got a lot of serious thought put into it, like 7 or 8 years. Um, and so it just has a lot of stuff that's nice to use for making games specifically, is what we're talking about. And to use it, it's in private beta, which means you can have an open source game with a closed source compiler. I still really love that because that's just so funny. Um, like you can't get access to this compiler unless you like email him with something that you're doing that's interesting. Um, and then like you're manually added to like a mailing list, and it's like it's the exclusive white collar secret beta club is like a joke. But anyways, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about like what you see when you download the zip of that. And these are like the how-tos that tell you to use this
Yeah,
program.
there's
for
there's
games.
a little folder, and it's called How To, and it's just a list
Yeah.
of .jai files with code, and it's all commented, and it's
Yeah.
like just a big tutorial.
By the way, it's called Jai, but it's not called Jai. Jai is like
Hmm.
it's some like acronym that doesn't mean anything or something. And like he just said that he hates naming things. Like he thinks that like everybody when they make something cool, they just want to come up with a cool name for it. So he's like, we're just not going to do a name until like we release it.
Simp is
Yeah.
my favorite module.
Yeah, Simp is good. Yeah, the name is good. Simp.
It's good. I'm so
get
glad
wrecked.
you did the Jai explanation because you did it way better than I could have.
Oh yeah.
Like I've been trying to do an explanation over the past few days for like people who come in on stream or like in the videos or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I just give up. I'm like, you know what? It's kind of cool. I don't really know
Yeah.
how to explain it. But that was a really good explanation. So glad we're all
Thank you.
caught up now.
Okay, now everybody knows. Let's get down to real business.
Real
There's nothing
business.
to talk about past that. We already
All
said
right.
the real business, then we
call
will
it a day.
explain afterwards.
Time to go to bed.
Yeah, man.
I
I think like there's another. Yeah.
Sorry, I'll just butt in with a quick little thought before you go. I can't even remember what my thought was, so continue.
I was just gonna say that there's like I've always been interested in these like alternatives to C programming language. Before it was cool. Me and like my nerd friend in high school.
by the way,
we
before.
tried to make us. What'd you say?
Before.
Oh yeah, before.
Yeah.
Yeah, before. And like, I remember in like 9th grade in high school, I was trying to make a C replacement language called Neolang, and like I've just always been into that. And I've tried them all. I've tried like Zig, and I wrote some stuff in Zig. I wrote a lot of stuff in a programming language called Nim. I wrote a game server that was kind of semi-shipped to like 25 people in Nim. It was like with WebSockets. And I don't know, Jai is just, it's a different caliber. It's just like made with seriousness and not by somebody who just has a bunch of cool ideas and they put it together and they throw it out.
That is the
It's just, like,
spiciest
actually good.
fucking take ever. God damn. You like put that
That's
up and
spicy.
that's the language wars right there.
I guess so. I mean, so Zig actually is also pretty, it's a lot more like, less crazy than some of the other ones. But like Nim is kind of like, okay, like the story of Nim is like, Nim is the oldest one of these, which is why it's interesting. It came out in like 2000, and I used it for like a year. I mean, so much fucking software in Nim. Um, and like, I think it might be the best one that's like kind of public, but it's just been around for so long that like the compiler is complicated and messy, and it was basically done by like one guy who likes like type theory stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of a little of a bit of an academic language, not one for like getting stuff done. Like I think there's this big dichotomy in programming in general between like people who are like studying programming and people who are just trying to get shit done, like a plumber, right? It's like water physics professors versus plumber, and they're just trying to pipe data between stuff. It's like, let's just get this shit out because we're just trying to get stuff done, right? And Nim is kind of more like theoretical. Like, what if the pipe was like a curly Q, and like we could like do it like this, and there's a valve that lets you like do this funky stuff. I don't know. Jai is a nice middle ground between those two, I found.
I'm coming from the perspective of I don't know shit. All I've done
Yeah.
is like C++, Unreal Engine blueprints, C,
Yeah.
and now Jai. So I'm very much like looking at the people who like mentors in my life that I actually look up to and have been around the block and doing all this kind of shit, right? And to
Yeah.
hear you and to know that you've actually gone and tried out all these other languages and can actually have an opinion
Yeah.
on this, that's good. Because I can't have an opinion on any of this because I just have not used the other languages, so I can't give any kind
Yeah.
of solid thing that I can point to and say, like, this is why I like Jai better. Because I just switched from C to Jai, and it just feels a lot better, and it feels like it's just easier to write stuff. And it feels like there's a lot of
Yeah.
thought that's gone into getting stuff done. It's got really nice defaults. Defaults in the sense of like you have to write less code. You got to type out less stuff. And just
Yeah.
a bunch of quality of life stuff compared to C.
Yeah. I think like, I mean, I've been doing a lot of C in Metadesk programming for a game I'm releasing on April 1st called PlayGPT. Um,
What's
and like
Metadesk?
less Metadesk. Oh, you mean like
What's
for the Jai?
what's Metadesk? Sorry.
Oh, what's Metadesk? Yeah,
This is
shit.
why we need to do
Oh,
this in
fuck.
person,
Okay.
dude. We fucking limited bandwidth.
Limited bandwidth. It'd be cool in person. But like, yeah, Metadesk is although I'm mostly like staring into space. But yeah, Metadesk is like it's kind of like a made up data format. All data formats are made up. It's a data format. It's a data format specifically meant to. It's kind of like a superset of JSON a little bit, or it's like JSON but more flexible. It just requires less from the syntax, and it doesn't define any like value types like JSON. It's just like string subsections and like a parse tree. So it lets you just like make up a config format for like your game or something. Or in my case, I made up two formats. One for describing all the assets in the game because I'm doing something where like when you load the game in a web browser, all the textures by default are like a default texture and they're like loaded in dynamically. So the game loads instantly and is playable, but like sounds and shit load in later and like asynchronously load in. And I don't have to like query with a string for those variables. It's a compile time error if I reference an image that doesn't exist, right? Which is really, really nice. A big problem with like doing things a lot of other ways with strings or something is like you've seen that like pink and black like checkerboard texture when things don't exist. Having it be in compile time is really good. So that's one subsection of Metadesk. Another one is for all the characters in my game, they're controlled by GPT-3. It's machine learning. And so I type up conversations in Metadesk and annotate it with like what items people are holding and stuff like that. And then I just have it output a training data set for the machine learning to get what's going on in the game. Where I take like, say like it's holding the white square item and I type up some description of it. And then I have Metadesk like copy paste that description wherever I reference it, like a variable. Just so I don't have to like, if I change the description of an item, I don't have to change every training data. But yeah, just doing that in general with Metadesk has been kind of a pain because Metadesk is a text format. It's not in the syntax tree of the programming language that you're doing stuff in. And and so there's a lot of tomfoolery that you engage in.
There's a bit of
Um,
tomfoolery, yeah.
like my thesis kind of before, well, when I was thinking of like Jai versus doing stuff with C and Metadesk, I was thinking like maybe the like syntax or maybe the like a flowery syntax of language is like doesn't matter at all, and it's just like you just got to get it done right. So just like
Yeah.
do it in C and Metadesk. But the problem is like I think it does matter, and it actually matters a lot, just
Yeah.
because the aesthetics of the thing that you're dealing with affect how you think about the problem. Um, and that's why I think having a new programming language matters. I used to kind of think it didn't.
Hmm.
I flipped it back and forth on that a lot,
That's
but I
kind
don't know.
of the vibe I've been getting as
Yeah,
well. Of like, okay, well, initially, my take was, all right, syntax doesn't matter. You're all just pushing logic around in slightly different ways. And then I
yeah,
started using Jaible, and I was like, ooh, this has got quality. It feels really nice, and I feel happy. I feel good working in this. Like that, like it's such a vague kind of thing, but just that mental state of not feeling like I'm wrestling with the compiler to get it to do what I want it to do is
yeah.
really valuable.
Like it's made for what you're doing. Like
Yeah.
it's like the difference between like a bare bones building with just like fences and concrete, and it's like functional but not beautiful. And like yes, you can do the same work done. Like you just got to move the planks back and forth. So it's just like work.
Yeah.
But like the aesthetics of the place you're in, like fucks with you. If everything is like utilitarian and shitty,
Yeah.
then you just feel worse.
That's a really good way of putting it.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I feel like
Um,
this is good that we've had this chat because a lot of people asking me, what's Jai like? Are you enjoying Jai? All this kind of stuff. And trying to give them a concrete answer is tricky. But I'm
yeah,
glad you're here because you've just taken a lot that's out in my brain, kind of like vague sentences, and put them into concrete terms. And
yeah.
I think there we go. There's a nice explanation for Jai.
I serialized the English.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks. Appreciate it.
I still like a part of me is still thinking about with Jai. Like I wonder if my impressions I think are still surface level because I need to make something big and non-trivial with it and ship it.
Yep.
Um, and it's kind of what I'm trying to do with like the Play GPT. It's not that big, and it is a little trivial, but at least it's like something. It's like kind of a complicated system that needs to
Yeah.
like accept payments and stuff, so it has to be real.
And you're doing that in C with Metadesk, not Jai.
Yeah, yeah, to the web. Yeah,
Yep.
which was a mistake. I should have done JavaScript. Every time I think about this, I'm mad at myself that I didn't just write it in TypeScript or something. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. It is getting done though. It works.
How much longer do you think you have on that?
It's April 1st.
April 1st.
I've got that set in stone. Yeah,
So you think you're actually going to hit that?
of course.
Okay.
No,
Good.
I'm far past overscoping and never shipping. That used to be me, but now it's not.
That's still me, brother.
Yeah, I got burnt by that so much.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like I just have like the ability to think about like how much work actually needs to be done and visualize actually spending the time in those days and like how much stuff I have to do left. Like for April 1st, I'm like fucked right now, but I think I can barely manage to pull it off.
Okay.
Yeah, with the rough timeline. Yeah.
I respect that. You're like
Yeah, it seems like a big problem.
you've had like a nice kind of formal education, right? Like you're in uni.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. That's
But not really for the stuff that I'm doing.
yeah.
It's like the education that I'm in, I'm actually doing very poorly. Like, well, but my education so far is like, I just mostly don't think about college or whatever. And then I hear that in like 2 days, there's like a midterm or something. And so I have to like go to the class and then I like look at it and it's all stuff that I hate. And I just, every midterm is only testing you on like 5 things, right? So you just got to figure out what the 5 things are and know them. So I just like look for the 5 things and then I do it for like a couple hours. Like it's like zero time. Like I'm not being educated. I'm just applying my like problem solving to just solve the problem of not fail out of class. Like
That's
it's not.
really interesting.
I wish that I took it seriously because so for college I think it's like college and high school, you get out of it what you put into it, right? Like if I'm just trying to utilitarian pass, I'm basically getting nothing out of it. It's just purely application.
Yeah.
But the real way to do it is to have it be your main thing, right? My main thing now is like making stuff, right? As it always has been since like beginning of high school. Like my main thing is making play GPT, right? It's most of my hours per week. But if your main thing is like college, then you actually just read extra, right? You actually read the books they give you and you start connecting the information and you just gain a more knowledgeable like perspective on the world. And you're not a bumbling idiot like I still am. Like I feel like I need to do that at some point in my life. But just right now, it makes me too angry when I try and do it. It's like I could be making stuff right now, but instead I'm reading some weird knowledge I'm never going to use. It's like I need to make this now. That's how I feel.
That's really interesting. God. You see, I look at you and I feel like I am one step behind in that regard because I didn't even go to university. I just went straight to like making stuff. And now I feel very guilty for not having a formal education and like knowing stuff that maybe I should know, like, you know, math. It really just comes back to math. But I also feel like,
seems like a meme.
Yeah, if you're sitting here and you just go out in the world and you just start making something, and this is literally what you explained to me the other day when I brought up this issue, and by other day I of course mean 6 months ago.
It's one of the other days.
One of the other days, you don't learn
At the end of the day.
by like sitting down and saying, okay, I need to learn math. What you do is you go out, you create something, you run into a problem that requires you to learn math, so now you're motivated to actually go and do the thing. Like you just go out and you create stuff that you actually want to just go do what you want to do. It all comes back to that. Just do what you want to do and everything else will take care of itself.
The reason why that's important is because everybody else who is successful, or like the people who are doing what they want to do, are going to be way more successful at it than the people who are forcing themselves to do it.
Yep.
So it's kind of a requirement if you're competing to have that mindset.
It's like the difference between sailing a boat and sailing a boat, but you've got an anchor dragging behind you.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about the college thing. It does seem like there's like this big, I actually didn't know about this until recently when I was thinking about not going anymore, but like there's this big like psychological thing for people who like went to college and people who didn't. I guess that makes sense. But I don't know. It seems like one of those things where it's like grass is greener on the other side. And it's like the actual thing is no doing of a thing is going to fix the things that you perceive are wrong with you. Like it's like, like people going to college have the same problems. It's not like it's just like a thing you can go do kind of. It's not like a thing that changes you.
Yeah.
Like I remember my grandpa was always insecure about not going to college. I remember my mom pointed that out to me. She was like, yeah, don't mention it to him. And like the first thing he would say when you talk to him is like, I made a lot of money managing a hospital. I never went to college. Like that's always like his thing, right? It becomes like a thing because it's like a psychologically painful thing or something.
It's definitely been a thing for me in the past as well, where people ask if I've gone to uni, which is Australian for college. And I'd be like, nah, bro, I'm on self-taught. I need fucking uni. Oh, that's some bullshit, you know? But it's really just like me being insecure about not going to uni, which is kind of weird.
It's so funny. There's all this like psychological warfare over like an institution that is just fundamentally boring and terrible to me. It's not good. Uni is not good. Uni is bad. Like it's like all this like hype around like, so here's what I think happened with uni, right? In the 1700s, 1800s, there were people who are like you and me who just want to make stuff and figure out the world. And they did that and they did it well. And people saw the success that they had and wanted to be like them. Not because they just wanted to know what's going on in the world, but because they wanted the power associated with their place. And so universities are like places where you go to mimic the like cool guys from 200 years ago who figured it out. And it's like you read about what they did and you talk about what they did, but you never take their place, right? It's always a place of mimicry. It's never actually making a thing, because making a thing, it doesn't matter what institution you're in, right? The practices of the institution were started before the institutions existed. It's mostly like a proliferation of like trying to be somebody who figures out the world, not actually figuring out the world. And that's why it's like this. It's like something that you feel bad when you don't go. It's because it's all about the image, right? It's not actually figuring out the world. It's about the image of we're here for like smart people going here. And so everybody here who's actually, they're here because of the image. They're here because they just want status and they want to make money. It's not like they want to do stuff, which is not wrong, but it's just not what I'm interested in. So there's always a clash there.
Shit.
I don't know. Yeah.
God damn. That's well put. So
it's kind of like if somebody were to make, so you're successful in YouTube wildly, right? Imagine if somebody made like YouTube Academy. And it's like, we're going to go here. And then it's like, maybe it's like you and some other people were like YouTubers. It's like, we're going to teach people how to be good. But like, that's not what you did, right?
This is actually a thing. It's called YouTuber Academy. And it's hosted by this guy who's a YouTuber. And
yeah. I mean, I don't know.
If you want to do something, go do it, and you'll hit a roadblock with a problem, and you're like, okay, well, how do I solve this problem? And then you'll go figure out how to do it. You just hit up Google, and you're like, hey, how do I do this thing?
Yeah, and it might be that in order to know to do some things, you do go to university. But I do not think it's like that itself as its end goal is just not inspiring to me.
Yeah, what I kind of want to do at the moment is. This is literally just what I'm doing at the moment, so I just have a bunch of these little courses that I'm following and like things that I'm really interested in learning, right? For example, I got the Jai how-to that I'm working my way through. I've got the course, Casey's course on performance-aware programming, working my way through that. I've got a few other courses that are kind of just sitting there, like Nanta Tetris, and it's a free course. Learning how to learn, that was a good course. I finished that. Like 6 months ago.
That's cool.
Just kind of make your own university course, and you don't have to go to university for it. You can do it right now. You just, what do you want to do? Get a vague idea of like, okay, maybe I want to go make this really cool game because I was playing this game one day and I'd like to recreate this. This is literally just me talking from my own perspective. Yeah. This is just like my entire life, right? Over the last like 8 years or whatever the fuck it's been. And
the other important thing to say is like actually going to uni, it's the schooling. It's like kind of top down. You get grades and you're a bad person if you don't do it. And so like most of the people like I don't know.
Yeah, it really just comes back to the whole schooling issue of like you're here to get good grades, and if you're not doing that, you're bad. And now you're a failure. But
yeah,
that doesn't feel like an efficient way to learn, unless you're caught up in actually getting the grades and you're trying to aim for that. I don't know. It's weird, man.
There's this Steve Jobs quote, and I hate when people quote Steve Jobs and like idolize him because I don't think he was that cool. But he did say something that I think was cool. He said something that I think was cool, which is like don't live somebody else's life, right? That's like what institutions are is you're trying to live the life of somebody who figures out the world, but that's not your life. You need to live your life, right? Living somebody else's life, you're just not going to be as good at it, right? Yeah.
That's very true. So how do you want to live?
He said that in a commencement speech. Yeah, he said that in a commencement speech or something, for some college. Which is kind of
interesting. So yeah, how do you kind of make your own uni degree? I mean, well, there's a lot tied up in uni as well. It's like the general path is you go to university to get the piece of paper, you get the piece of paper to get the job. And maybe you're shooting for some kind of job, right? Does it then make sense to go do uni? Or can you get the job without the piece of paper?
That sounds like a technical question. I mean, there's probably an answer. There's an answer. You just go to find somebody who's in the job and ask them, and then they'll tell you.
Yeah.
It's how you like figure that out for yourself.
I guess it depends what you want to do. Like if you're trying to be a doctor.
So yeah, I mean, for those things, it makes sense that there's a certification. Like I don't know if I want handmade doctor. Like somebody like Googled shit. That's like I was talking about that. Like people in my college were in like doctor degrees, And I'm like, bro, you have no idea how it is in engineering. Like a lot of people just like make shit at home and then get hired and do the job. Can you imagine if you were like doing surgery at like frogs, like in your garage or something, and then they hired you to do surgery like a real person? Like that's bad. Okay, maybe we should
Handmade
keep
doctor,
like
bro.
yeah, no, like you don't want the fucking I don't know if I want the like. I mean, maybe I do want the Casey Muratori doctors, who's like, you have to construct the bones piece by piece. Stop using automated. Like you just figure out the. I don't know. Go to the morgue. Go to the morgue and take apart a body yourself, bit by bit.
Fucking gangster, bro.
I know. Maybe I do want that doctor though, because he probably
Maybe.
fucking knows. You know what I'm saying? You want the fucking.
Probably
You don't
knows
want
some
the guy
shit.
who's using the Python of doctor.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
want this Python scalpel with like it's high level. I'm not actually touching it. It's like a lever. And I do
Yeah,
push a
yeah.
little bit. It's a low effort, and I scalpel this stuff.
You want that doctor from. I was about to make a Better Call Saul reference, but like, who, who's seen Better Call Saul? You know. To be fair, I think a lot of people have seen Better Call Saul. Have you seen it?
No, people are really liking it though, so I guess I need to watch
Yeah.
it.
I just finished it recently, and I'm so glad I'm done with it because now my nights aren't spent being kind of like on the edge of depression and anxiety, like being caught up in somebody else's character arc. And now they're spent
Yeah.
me just living my own character arc and listening to Casey rant about why computers are slow.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I've gone through so many of those moments where you live in a like TV show for a week and you binge it. It's actually kind of fun. That happened to me with
It
Avatar:
is
The
kind
Last
of fun to
Airbender.
get caught up in that. Yeah, that happened to me with Avatar: Last Airbender literally just before I
Yeah,
watched Better
yeah,
Call Saul. Like that
yeah.
was a
I
couple
never
weeks
started
prior.
drinking tea. Yeah, I started drinking tea because of Iroh, and I would feel like Iroh when I drank tea. I'd be like, yeah. And
I
then I would immediately stop drinking it because tea kind of sucks.
I learned how to play Leaves of the Vine on guitar.
Oh, so bass! That's so cool.
It's
Holy
so
shit.
good. I love it.
That's so good. Oh my gosh.
I cry
Iroh
every
might be
time I
best
do it.
character ever, maybe.
For
Yeah.
sure. It's Avatar is just it's on some shit, dude. It's best TV show ever.
Yeah. It's crazy that it's like a kids' TV show too. Like the
Literally,
jokes are bad because it's a kids' TV show, but it's still really good.
the jokes are bad, but I always crack up with them. You know, like
Yeah,
there's
it's like they're still good.
yeah, it's like
It's like SpongeBob.
there was like one moment there in Avatar. I shit myself laughing for like 2 minutes, and it was like when Aang was in the Avatar state, and he was like in there for a while, and then he just like popped a squat and took a shit. He just shit his pants, and that was like the funniest thing ever, dude. I was like, yeah, yeah.
That's so real. It's too real. That's so-
I actually forgot that joke existed last time I watched it around,
Yeah.
and I was just dead with laughter for like 5 minutes.
yeah. I guess I forgot that existed too. So when I rewatch it someday in the future again,
Yeah.
I'll laugh at it. I like watched an episode of SpongeBob with some dudes the other day recently, and like people make like YouTube poops of SpongeBob or whatever, right? But what I never realized was like episodes of SpongeBob are already YouTube poops. There's like
Yeah.
all these fucking cuts and jumpaways and like shitty jokes that are like meta humor constantly. Like it was actually like funny. It was like this SpongeBob Krabby Patty episode.
Yeah.
Where it gets like it's like the Krabby Patties. They go to the grave.
Fucking
Shit.
SpongeBob, bro. I watched a bit of it when I was a kid, but I never really got too into it. I feel like getting into SpongeBob
Yeah.
at this stage would be a bit of a mistake, because
That would be a mistake.
That would be a
Yeah.
lot of episodes, you know. And I mean,
Oh, yeah, no,
it's
yeah.
also like there's no continuity in them, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's not like Avatar where you get into it. I think it's
Yeah.
like I just had this moment of recognition of all these things I didn't see when I was a kid watching this. Like this is actually
True.
funny. Like this is like I think there were like 10 times in a 10-minute episode where I was just like actually laughing.
Yeah.
It was just so insane.
Oh,
Like
that's insane.
I can't believe they put
I went over
Yeah.
to I was like fucking like 10. I was being babysat at as a 10-year-old at someone's house, and we put on SpongeBob, and the guy there, he was like 30. We were watching SpongeBob together, and he was just cracking up laughing all the time. And I was like, "What? He's laughing." And I was like 10 at the time. I was like, "This is a kid show. Why is he laughing and having a good time?" And I was like so
That's
confused about
cool.
that, but I just realized that
Yeah.
just now why that was a thing, and that's amazing. I love it.
When you think about like the plot of SpongeBob, it's a very adult plot. It's like a guy who hates his or SpongeBob. He like loves his job as a like minimum wage fry cook, and his boss is going to steal from him and shit. And Squidward is like depressed and just hates everything.
Yeah.
It's like that's like a funny, like just that's something that would be like really funny as an adult show
Yeah,
than a kid
it's
show. It's
such a
just so
legit
fucking,
show,
it's
but it
so real.
works.
It's
Yeah.
so real.
Like
It's just too real. It's
there
too.
are some episodes of SpongeBob where it's like fucked up. Like I've seen like a couple YouTube videos of uh, SpongeBob episodes, like the one where Squidward like moved to this squid town, and he was just very happy
Oh
day in
yeah,
day out,
that shit.
and he just got
Yeah,
depressed because he got everything he wanted. And there was like another
yeah,
episode where I mean, he like went back in time or some shit.
yeah,
Yeah, there's some really interesting shit going on in there.
yeah. It's like high level like
Yeah,
philosophy in this
literally.
fucking
Then
kid
you have like a
show, bro.
4-year-old sitting there cracking up, you know?
Yeah, it's like, bro, you just holy shit. These episodes are like future trajectories you could take in your life that leave you destitute and alone, and it's just like presenting that to a kid. And the
Yeah.
fucking comment. I don't. These people are insane. Like the guy, you know, the like Nickelodeon like foot fetish controversy. Do you remember they used to be all like feet all the time?
What?
It's kind of like that, where it's like, dude, this is actually fucked up. Do you not know about that?
No.
Nickelodeon used to like their logo used to be a foot, and like I remember in iCarly and shit, the actors would like show their feet to the camera, and like feet were the guy who did all that shit had a foot fetish. So like,
What?
let me double check this. Hold on.
Jamie, can you pull that up?
Yeah,
Nickelodeon foot
ex-Nickelodeon
fetish.
producer Dan Schneider denies foot fetish. And then here's a YouTube video: Nickelodeon foot fetish proven. This is Dan Schneider's. Is this true? Actually, I don't even know. Long
Everything's
held
true.
theory that he's into feet and channeled that
Everything's
on his
true.
show. So he says it's not. He denies this. He denies this.
Denied?
The comedy was
I don't
totally
know,
innocent.
man. I don't know.
Several people have compiled still shots from different shows of his, and they seem to find a common theme among his child actors. They seem to be in a lot of bare feet scenes. Dude, I don't.
Fucking internet, bro.
Okay, maybe that was a lie. I might have just lied. I'm sorry. That was a rumor maybe that I just said was true.
I mean, at the end of the day,
Okay,
everything's a rumor.
at the
You
end
know?
of the day.
Everything's a rumor. Everything's true. Everything's false. Everything's a paradox. Nothing matters. Nothing matters.
I don't know if I like that. I like the rationalist. Like you should actually just figure it out, and it's a little Bayesian, and you just figure it out, and there's an actual answer. I like that. I don't like the like nothing matters.
Yeah, I like that to a point. Like rationality has its uses within like all right, you're trying to get to some end and you're trying to like you can't be rational and program. I mean, you can't not be rational and program, right? Like you're sitting there solving
Yeah,
problems and it's useful. But when it comes to the meaning of life and just living on a daily basis, if you try and be rational about that and like trying to figure out like what's the meaning, what is it all about, blah 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 blah, that to me is wasted energy.
yeah, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's just that it doesn't work. Like it doesn't. That perspective is fundamentally not the one that shows you the way. Or like, I definitely agree with that. Like, I don't know.
Because I've gotten caught up in that in the past, and it just leads to dead ends.
Yeah,
Like trying to solve
yeah,
for X when it comes to the meaning of life is just not a thing.
yeah. It doesn't make sense.
I keep going back to this one June quote, and it's the mystery of life isn't a problem to solve, but a reality to experience. And that's kind of my whole take on the thing.
Yeah, Dune is crazy.
June's really good. I read the book recently, and it was really
Oh
nice.
wow. I remember I read it in like high school for some book report thing.
Yeah. Actually, I take it back. I'm a liar. I didn't read the book. I listened to it on Audible. I'm a fraud.
Oh well, that's the same.
I'm a
That's
fraud.
the same thing.
It is. It is kind of the same thing, but it's like
What's the difference
potato
actually?
potato. You're listening to it or you're
No, but
reading it.
yeah, you don't get the self-image of being somebody who reads books when you listen to it.
Exactly, and that's
You don't get the
why
boost.
I said I'm a liar and a fraud because I feel insecure about not reading the book and just listening to it the easy way.
It's the same thing with like doing college degree or doing it yourself. You don't get the self-image
Exactly.
of the paper, bro.
Exactly.
Without the hype.
Do I need the self-image though? Do I need to feel like I'm better because I read a book as opposed to an audiobook? I don't really give a fuck.
I think when you see it, you don't need it, but it controls you behind your back constantly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%.
That's why a lot of like the whole point of like yogic meditation stuff is for you to be aware of everything that's happening. Like
Yeah.
psychological, your personality doesn't control you. Your identity doesn't control you when you see it happening. Like perception is all that's needed, not control.
Okay.
Um,
This has been a really deep couple of hours.
yeah, forgot we were recording again.
Well, that's the best way of doing things. I don't think we ever got around to your intro.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, who cares? Who
Who
cares? Still we
fucking
die.
cares,
Are
bro?
they, aren't they just gonna die, bro? Like I don't.
We're,
Who cares
we're,
who I
we're all
am?
gonna
Like
die. Nothing matters. Peace. Thanks for
nothing.
coming.
Nothing matters. But I want. um.
Crocky.
Yeah. So I'm making like a bunch of stuff right now. Only like two things. I have a YouTube channel. I'm making a big space multiplayer game. I made it for a few months. I kind of ran into like some design challenges. That's in the back burner while I'm doing other stuff. Um, but I'm coming back to it soon, and I'm releasing action RPG. Everything is controlled by GPT-3 Naval Versed, and that's what I'm doing.
Crocky. I love that name. That's this is really what happened when we first met. I like read out your name and I was like, fucking Crocky, mate. Jesus. That's
Yeah, I like that username. That's
yeah.
crazy. Is my username the only reason I know you? That's crazy. I love it.
Um no, I don't think so. I think this is back
No.
when we met through the whole fucking BMAC spiel.
Yeah, yeah.
And the reason the BMAC spiel started is because Terry, our friend, he emailed me one day and we just got to chatting. And he was like the first kind of like game dev who I was like
Yeah.
seriously chatting to and like trying to like, just crush it with. And then we started the whole BMAC thing, which is the Big Monkey Apex cult, which is a cult of game devs. And we literally did like one round of applications and got like a couple people in. You were one of those people, and I like sifted through a bunch of applications and like went through and like looked at everyone's games and all that kind of stuff and goals and ambitions and blah blah blah. And that's how we met.
Yeah,
And
true. Yeah.
yeah, that's crazy. And that was like what, fucking 8 months ago or some shit.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe. Yeah. I remember the username Creikey. Yeah. It's really bad because it just doxes me, but like I'm completely fucking so bad. It's actually so bad. It might be over for Crike salts.
It's
But
over,
like,
bro.
bro, it never even began, bro. It never even began. I was like I was like at some party and then I said we were like me and this guy were talking about like it being over and he said that. I was like, holy shit, that's so good. It never even began. It's so depressed that it's funny. It becomes funny. It's like so bad. It's like,
Never even
bro, it's so
began, dude.
over, bro. It never even began, bro. It's like you're like transcending time and space with your fucking depressive negativeness. You're like,
It's
go
the
back in
most
time. It
it's
was
the
never
most
even.
nihilistic take ever.
It's
Never began, dude. Come on.
to the point of absurdity, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean it never began? It obviously began, and then it ended. But
I
like,
mean, I began with literally just saying my full name in videos, and like
yeah,
I had my last name as like my YouTube channel name, and then at some point I was like, maybe I don't really want to be putting my full name out there all the time. And then I just changed it to Randy, and now, some of the boys listening to this know my full name, but, let's just keep that on the down low. It's,
Yeah,
it's, it's just
it's
scattered throughout
fucking.
the internet, and there's no way I'm scrubbing that, so I guess
Yeah,
I'm
I think
fucked.
like it's only a problem. It's only a problem if you get really big, I think, because it's a numbers game. If a crazy person knows where you are,
Yeah.
it's that article you sent me where it's like, do you want to be known? And then it was like the guy who was like, yeah, somebody tried to like abduct me when I went on vacation because I used
Yeah.
my real name or something. I think that only
Yeah.
happens when you get to like 10 million. And then it's just like 0.001% of people are crazy. Out of one person, they're just going to try and kill you. So you have to like
Yeah.
send out clones of yourself and like do a bunch of like fucking CIA hijinks, cartoon ass fucking. Oh, it's not the real me. It's like my butler who I send in my uniform. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There's a lot of that, and it's like, okay, well, what are my goals here? My goals to get really famous and well known? No, not really. I just kind of want to sit here and make games. So, but at the same time, I kind of really like making YouTube videos and doing the funny ha-has and trying to like tell a nice story because
Yeah,
I don't really know why I like doing it, honestly. Like,
those are the things you're the best at.
I mean, if I had to like put something on it and I had a gun to my head, an emotional gun to my head, maybe like,
For anybody listening, not a real guy. No, it's for the crazy people.
uh, probably like, I mean, it's simple. It's just number go up, big number. You see a million views on a YouTube video and you're like, yeah, a million people watch this video. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I must be important, right? Like it's very egotistical. It's very like, okay, let's get more subscribers. It's really like a status game.
yeah,
So at its core, I think all my YouTube activity is that, which
that's interesting.
is a bit scary saying out loud.
Yeah, because then you're kind of fucked, right? Every time you participate and a number go up, you get fucked. That's like, if you, I mean, like, this is like stuff that Socrates figured out. He has this theory of the jars where he's like, yeah, bro, it's not like My Little Pony jars, but like, he's like, if you just have like he's like, pleasure is like a jar, right? It's like if you just fill it, then the jar gets bigger, and like you empty the, or sorry, you fill the jar with water and then you empty it, and you just, or sorry, that was also wrong. It's a jar with holes in it, and like
Okay.
you fill it with water, and then it's whole constantly draining out, so you constantly need more and more.
Yeah.
And it never fills. It's
Yeah.
always being drained,
Yeah.
right? And that was like his analogy of like most pleasure seeking. That was his like proof, philosophical proof of like why the lowly pleasures are bad because they're never fulfilled.
Okay.
Um, and that's why you might feel scared since thinking it's a status game because then you're fucked, right? It's a jar with holes in it. No matter how much you feel it, you
No,
want more.
I'm not scared about that. I'm scared because I'm saying this out loud and it's a very real kind of thing. Because now I'm
Oh
scared about
yeah,
how people are going to perceive me. Like, oh, this dude just wants status. This dude just wants money. Like
yeah. The
it's
emperor has no clothes.
yeah, yeah. That's the part I'm scared about. But
I don't know. I don't
now
think
that
it's
I'm
that bad though.
saying it
Like,
out loud,
yeah,
it's not really the part that I'm scared about. Now it's just a second layer of like it's it, it's weird, dude. It's all just this meta game of how can I be seen as the best person imaginable? How can I play all
yeah.
these
That stuff
like
sucks.
it's
Yeah.
I hate that game so much. I hate that game, but I play it on a daily basis.
Yeah, all the time.
I don't know.
It's to be a human, bro. It's the fucking humans, bro.
Yeah, it's like the one core drive is you want to be seen as important.
Yeah, that's true. That's what they said. That's what the guy said on How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Exactly.
I
I
still think
was
that book is psychopathic,
yeah.
but I still think it's good. But it's like insane. That's like too. It's like too. You know when somebody like spoils a game when you're playing it, and it's too
That's
like
the game
on
of
the
life
nose.
spoiled right there.
Yeah, you're kind of fucking just saying the answers like that is a little not cool. It's a little like
That's a cheat code. Now,
it's
I've been reading that a little bit. Uh, it does feel a little bit. I don't know if it really feels wrong in my system. It kind of feels like, okay, well, these are ways I can be a bit better of a human. Like just smiling at people and being like a general, like being interested
Yeah.
in other people's lives and talking about them and giving nice compliments. And it's really just giving me permission to do what I feel like doing all along. Because I like, sometimes I feel like doing that. Like I feel like complimenting someone, but I'm like kind of too scared to give the compliment because just feeling kind of like anxious about, oh, what if it's taken the wrong way? Or like, what if a compliment is taken the wrong way? Sure, you know? Like, yeah. Or like smiling and like being happy. And it's kind of just
Yeah.
giving me permission to be a better human, I guess. So it's not me trying to be a better human. It's like me just giving myself permission
It's
to actually
permission.
do some nice shit. And it's
I think
been,
that yeah,
yeah,
permission is the strong side of self-help stuff.
yeah. I don't know. But you kind of like, if you're attacking it from the angle of like, okay, how do I win friends and influence people? Like that's such a fucking,
Yeah.
like that
It's
title in
so
itself
insane.
it's such a non-starter. Like it's insane. It's
It's because
fucking
that's what the alpha male
psychopathic.
does. It's not beta
Yeah.
male. It's not beta male. It's alpha male. So you don't like it. You're like, if somebody was trying to win influence over me, I would get together all my beta males and we would
We
just
would
stone him.
spear him,
Not actually, but
stone him with stones and spears, and he'd be dead. Finn.
yeah,
We
the sheer scale of civilization is bonkers. I can't
It's
even
pretty
believe it.
bonkers.
I
Like
can't believe it's
what?
real.
6.5 billion? What are we at the moment, Jamie? Pull the numbers up on the human population.
Wow, look at that graph, Jamie.
I I just opened Brave and my
I
entire
love Jamie
computer
pulled
is
that up
now
as a meme.
throttling.
Oh God, you gotta make
Jesus
sure to stop the
Christ.
video.
God.
Hold on, let me.
Imagine if this
Is your
entire
laptop
recording just
plugged in?
crashed.
Is your laptop plugged in?
It is, yeah.
Okay. Making
I
sure.
think we're good, but it was just momentary pain and suffering.
Human population is 8 billion right
Eight,
now.
what?
8 billion.
8 billion?
Yeah,
No.
I just googled it.
No. 8?
What's up with my 500 million homies? On the new homies.
You're kidding me. It's not 8.
It says that the United Nations said on November 15th, 2022, they reached 8 billion.
What the fuck? Last, last time I checked, it was like 6.4 or something. That was the number I had in my
Homies been
mind.
busy. They've been busy, bro. People been busy
I've been out work.
doing something.
God
My
damn.
parents didn't tell me how it works, but I know that something's happening.
Yeah, yeah. Something fishy's going on here. Alrighty. Well, I think we've done our time, and then some.
Cool.
We need to leave on a funny haha note. Nothing matters.
It's not funny.
Bye.
Sad. That's terrible. That's probably like the least funny thing ever. Or
Funny
maybe the
in
most funny thing. If
a
you're like the Joker.
yeah, funny in a Joker kind of way, you know.
I already said everything interesting that I know.
Yep,
That's
I think we're all tapped out of interesting topics. I think we can kind of call it a day there, and yeah, that's the first and last podcast.